Yeah, this will be really weird without interaction, but hi everyone! Welcome to 2022!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! I'm Corey Cole.
And I'm Lori Cole.
And we're game designers and developers.
And we're starting the stream all over from the beginning, so all of you people that are here get to see this again.
So many of you know us from back in the late 80s to all 1990s, doing a series called Quest for Glory. Castle Dr. Brain, Mixed Up Fairy Tales, and Shannara.
We don't literally have to start this entire.
Oh, we're starting our lives over.
No.
Yeah, we are. This is a new life.
The people that are here already know.
And the rest of you know us from Hero U Road to Redemption, as our most recent thing, and from Summer Daze at Hero U, which is a series we're working on currently. So we're here to talk about how 2022 is going to be the release of the first Summer Daze game. Summer Daze at Hero U, Tilly's Tale, and that we have new ones, Ifeyo's Adventure and Sammy's story coming up. And we're going to put this stream up on YouTube or something later, since we're on the browser Twitch.
Yes, we're having troubles with the stuttering and things like that, so this is the right way to do it. We'll just do a live stream, and you people that are watching will have to catch up. And we will type things in the type thing, but it's like time travel.
Oh, you just read Schumann's comment about how I bet it's bandwidth rather than CPU memory, except I don't think you did.
Okay.
Did you actually say anything
about that?
Yes, I did
something, yes.
Oh, okay.
So that was 10 minutes ago or so. So
Hour ago, I don't know.
What we're trying to do is literally, we've got the chat and Twitch is terribly off sync. So what we're going to do is basically start all over and start talking about things.
Yeah.
Since the time delay is too much to play.
So, Eden, when Lori and I took typing classes, correcting an error did not mean hitting backspace. It meant backing up to the error, taking out correct type or liquid paper, and we would mark out the mistake in liquid paper, blow on it a couple times, wait for it to dry, and then retype the correct thing.
Yeah, well, it was those fun days. I was so glad when computers came in and we could do.
Oh, we're jumping two streams, one where I'm wearing glasses, another where he isn't. Yeah, I don't actually need the glasses for most things, since I had LASIK surgery followed by cataracts surgery over the last 15, 20 years. But I do need them for reading. And I use them for reading text, but I don't need them for anything visual. I'm going to bring up my browser again in the other window, and we're not going to do flummox. Oh, we're not going to do the browser. We're going to do. So we're not going to play. We're not going to play Magic Magit or Phrase Flummoxer, but I am going to go into Steam and play Hero U Road to Redemption.
There's that winter sale.
Winter sale. Oh, we're probably on sale.
You're not showing the page, so it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cute. I like the.
Well, I could. Here's the desktop. Yeah. They have a cute little animation.
Yes, they have a cute animation of Yeti doing ice skating. That's cute.
Hero U Road to Redemption and Summer Daze at Hero U. Hero U Road to Redemption on Steam is on sale. Special promotion, 50% off. Offer ends January 5th. So you should buy it for all your friends. But in the meantime, I'm going to play it. And how do I do that? Play now. Hero U Road to Redemption.
Welcome to the stream. Nothing happened before now. Yes, we've all started over again.
It's a brand new stream.
And just in time for the new year.
Okay, this is Hero U Road to Redemption, version 2.2. I think it's actually 2.2.1, but I can't promise that.
Okay.
Lovely music. The music is by Ryan Grogan, and I've decided this is my favorite music of all of our games.
Really? Okay. I liked a lot of it.
I'm going to start a new game, and the reason for that is this is going to play the movie, and we'll talk over the movie.
Right.
This seemingly simple little cinematic took months to get right. Lori designed the Transsolar Games logo. And Ryan synced in the music to the video that I think that this...
Yes, Al did.
Yeah. So basically we have a fly over the castle. That was a cute effect of the snowflake or frost ball going past. Here's the castle, which I thought could have had a little more detail, but it's okay. Ominous background, and then we come over to the town. The motion's a little jerky, and we tried to get this smoother, and it just would not, run at a reasonable compression rate and reasonable smoothness.
The buildings are all 3D, but there's some 2D objects in here.
Like the bombs or?
Yeah, the trees are probably 2D.
There's vines on the side of the one building, which they might be 2D.
Well, those are just textures maps on the thing, so yes. Now it's lagging. Frozen video with the circle around it. Oh well.
Well, this is greatly improved. Well, that's okay, Belksar, because basically we've given up on the stream and we're recording this locally, and we're going to put it up on YouTube later.
It's time, said Sean. Okay.
So the idea is that we had a non-interactive beginning to the movie, and then we go to still non-interactive. But
no, but this is actual game movement.
Yeah, this is in the engine. It was I thought wasn't quite right on the drat coming out and knocking over.
The timing was not. No, it isn't supposed to knock you. It's supposed to scare him and he falls over. But yeah, timing isn't very good on that.
And he huffs and puffs, which is nice animation. And then comes into the alleyway. So that thing, I mean, that took as long as most of the game to make the stupid video.
No, it just took a couple
forever.
months. It's
months.
like forever, yeah.
All right.
I wanted to get it right.
So the viewpoint of this room, we originally promised this on Kickstarter as a top-down isometric tile view, and it was an exploded view, similar to a game which I don't know if I have on my Steam or not, which is MacGuffin's Curse. And that is because we were working from Andrew Golding of Melbourne, Australia at the time, who developed that game. Being cool. So we really like MacGuffin's Curse. It's a wonderful puzzle game. You should get it if you haven't tried it. And then we had an art director come in, which is Terry Robinson, who worked with us on Quest for Glory 5. And Terry hated the exploded view. He said this just looks bad. And he wanted to go to an isometric proscenium stage presentation, somewhat similar to what we did at Sierra, but without perspective. And that was kind of what we ended up with. And initially this was all done as 2D. We used W, I think, warping on all the objects to give the illusion of them being three-dimensional, even though they were flat. And eventually we decided that stuff just wasn't working, and we ended up making about 80 to 90% of the game is 3D now. So Laurie is interacting with the desk. So we decided, how do we want to interact with stuff? What is our interface? And I actually took the model from Laurie's game, Mixed Up Fairy Tales, which only had 2 commands. The right mouse button was look at, and the left mouse, I don't know if it was left or right button. Anyway, the only 2 commands were look and do. And so the do did things. But this is a complex game that just saying do and having it do the right thing would have been kind of stupid. So we decided to come up with the menu system. You want to talk at all about the
No, I was going to go back to there are people here on the stream still here. Is Turk's actor voice Australian? I believe he's British when you actually...
Yeah, I think he's English.
Yes. Yes, there is a definite accent, and it's very funny to listen to his voice contrasting with Turk and with Gerhardt.
The actor is Stephen Kelly. You can look him up on IMDb. Mm-hmm. Turns out kind of all the actors we have a fair amount of IMDb credits, ranging from just a couple to dozens.
And thank you, PBS, for joining the chat, and we'll congratulate everybody with a Happy New Year.
And if you're broadcasting us live on PBS, we apologize for the
yeah, right.
stuttering and bandwidth problems. Okay, so we went with a hierarchical menu, where when you bring up the menu initially, it shows a few options. Go back to the desk, actually. Okay, so...
You're not having to do a tutorial for this whole thing.
We're going to talk about how we made design decisions. That's what I said this stream was all about.
I know, but we've already done... I mean, they've all played this game, so don't assume our audience is ignorant.
Right. But when you say, examine the desk drawers, that takes you to a new level of menu. And this is supposed to be kind of seamless. You may not actually notice it's a thing during the game, but this allowed us to have dozens of options for a given object without having them completely overloading the screen.
Yeah, we didn't want any more than 5 options at a time. So it didn't overload your brain, too.
Examine the desk drawers. The center drawer is locked, but I can open one of the side drawers. Now you can say, open the side desk drawer. And nothing else of value here. Laurie took the letter opener early. So this is another thing that was one of the major, I don't know if it was an innovation, but the virtual realism that Laurie put in the games is that when you do things, it is noted and it affects the text and dialogue thereafter. So because Laurie has taken the letter opener, you're not going to get the same message about the letter opener again.
Yeah, I wanted to give this verisimilitude of a reality here. And we want Sean to feel real to our players. And Sean is your avatar for the game.
And that goes into the art style. So obviously, it's not a realistic art style, but it is a cross. It is somewhere between cartoony and it's definitely cartoon realism. A lot of games now go with very cartoony styles, and there's a place to that. But we wanted this world to feel alive and real. That you're really, you really are playing Sean. He is walking around.
This was done with a 3D background, but some of the objects are 2D maps. They're not really 3D objects. And so we have this weird mix of things which really cause problems for the headaches for programmers.
Oh yeah.
If we'd had the
library was the worst.
Because we didn't know what we were doing, or what was the best way to do things, more to the point.
Yeah,
we
so
started out 2D.
Yeah, so after 30 years of making computer games, 25 years,
Right.
whatever, we discovered that we were starting fresh. So I just right-clicked in the lamp, and it says some magic. I was trying to do something there.
Okay, fine.
It says it's one of the new magical touch me lamps. So when I do it, I do a left button on the lamp. I can turn off the wall light. Off with you then! And the entire section of the room gets darker, turn it back on. That is in there, not because we wanted to have amazing lighting, but because when we were hiring programmers to work on this, I gave each of the programmers the background for the scene and some of the assets and said...
When it was all 2D.
Yeah, when it was all 2D, and said, build something in Unity just to show you know how to make stuff in Unity. And one of them made all the lights interactive. And we said, oh, that's cool. So we hired him, and we made the lights interactive.
The other one gave us a cat.
Yes, another one decided there had to be a cat in the room because there was a cat, and you can barely see it on this lighting.
I know. Well, yeah.
Is this desk lamp on?
Yes, the desk lamp is on. Your monitor's just a little dark. But it is appropriate for a darkened room.
Anyway, there's a cat over there. That cat has never missed a meal, and that had to do with the fact the person was a cat lover, and also the fact that we had a cat in the old lady's room in Heroes Quest.
And because he put the cat in this room, in
we
his
had to
demo,
make it interactive.
And, well, more to the point, we had to rationalize who owned this cat. Why is there a cat here? Well, if the person has a cat here, obviously he likes cats, so therefore there's pictures on the table of a person with cats. And there's a cat on the wall and things like that.
So you can talk to the cat and introduce yourself. So, cat, you'll be able to tell your great-grand kittens that you met Master Thief Sean O'Connor in his very first break in success. Aren't you proud of this moment? Now, I am reading that as a voice. Meow, says the cat with a sound effect. And I kind of wanted to have voice acting in this game. But there were a few problems with that. One, our son was actually one who talked me out of it. And he said that he had played a number of indie games that had amateur voice acting, and they completely ruined the games. And he said you're better off without voices, let people use their imagination. So a lot of people, want to be able to imagine what the voices are like. So that's one reason. The other reason is just budget. This script is gigantic for this game. It's several 100,000 words, and it costs about foreign language translation is about 10 cents a word. Voice acting, boy, it's a spotty Black Panther coming. It's just black in this stream. Turn up the brightness. There's a close-up. When you do a look at it, it gives you a close-up. I could never take on the responsibility of cat. I don't like dependent clause. Go to the other.
I wanted to look at this painting.
This painting is a kitten in a teacup. It's really pretty adorable.
Yes, and that's because Robert Ketty sent this picture in to be his avatar in the yearbook.
Ah, and Robert Ketty was the programmer that put in the lights.
Right. So.
And go to the other painting. To the right.
Oh, that's what.
That one.
Okay.
Look at it. Okay. Plaque under the painting says Irana's Meadow. And this was actually based on the Irana's tribute poster that was made by Eric Varnes and...
well, no, it was by Eric.
Eric Chang and Eric Varnes both worked on it. J.P. Selwood also worked on it.
I don't think Varnes did.
Oh, okay. Well, J.P. Selwood worked on it.
Yes, it was J.P.
Anyway,
painted it.
So look behind the painting. There's nothing behind it except a lot of talent and hard work. Pity no one hid the lucky coin there. It would have been a good place to hide a lucky coin. But so that's kind of a meta humor there on game development, because there's just an enormous amount of work that the artists put into every little aspect of these scenes.
There's a fire. That fire is
animated
with
and
sprites.
sound effects.
Yes, and there's and it's relational. The sound effect goes down as you go away. All of these things that we could do with real 3D.
Which is one of the reasons why we didn't want to make 3D game originally, because we remembered Quest for Glory 5, the game that had an 18-month schedule and that actually took about 40 months, something like that, 30 or 40 months, and we decided that 3D is just too expensive, too difficult, doesn't look that good. But we eventually decided that the things it lets you do, such as making this room, that we can walk around this room that is much larger than a screen, are just too valuable.
Well, that and the fact that the 2D wasn't working. It was very hard to find an engine like like the original SCI, which handled 2D animation really well. And at the time we were using Unity, what was the system? Not Unity, the program that we had for displaying it. No, for this game.
Oh, for this game?
Yeah, what's the system? No, the program that you use to actually display things in this game.
I use Paint.
No. The
Photoshop.
game system, the base game system. It is Unity?
It's Unity,
but
yeah. Unity.
Unity is the one that did the 2D, it didn't have a 2D engine when we started out?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah,
didn't have a 2D engine.
Yeah, they added some 2D features to Unity, but we basically had to roll our own, and that was mostly Jonathan got all that working originally and did some prototypes on it. Then we had a programmer that came in and said, well, let's really do this in 3D. And the problem is this 3D stuff was unattractive because he was using programmer art, and people didn't like it.
So yes, and then we had, and we didn't have 3D we didn't have any artists that did 3D. So therefore, the decision waffled for a while, and then
and eventually we threw up our hands in despair and said 3D is the way to go.
Yeah, because
we can do more with it.
Yeah.
Climb the fireplace mantle. Better not. One of the stones in the mantle feels a little loose. So this is when we worked with Bob Bates on Shannara. He's a big believer in breadcrumbs, or what he called error correction. So to him, a correct move by a player is whatever the game intended the player to do, and anything else the player does is an error. So in this case, climbing the fireplace is an error, and the error correction here is to tell the player one of the stones in the mantle feels a little loose. And that is the clue that you should interact with the mantle. So examine the fireplace mantle is one of the options. As the shamrock design reminds me of the description of the lucky coin. I'll take my time examining this.
So part of the reason for this room is to justify this room being as complex as it is the tutorial for how to play this game. With all the interactive items and the leveled, layered menus and that. It's all about teaching the player what they can do and what they can't do.
And of course, if we had been trying to get the game funded by a publisher initially, then we should have had instead of our picture on here, but oh well. Then we probably would have done this to this degree of complexity so that we could show it off as here's what the game will feel like. That's called a vertical slice of the game, which means a completely implemented piece of the game that is exactly as it will appear in the final game, as opposed to the horizontal slice that my mentor at Sierra, Bob Heitman, felt very strongly the games should be completely built, mapped out, every scene built, with stand-in art and so on, so that everything was complete and you can make sure that there was a reasonable size and that the game flow was correct, and then you would go through and build up layer by layer. So you would maybe take the black and white sketches of the rooms and put in paintings for the rooms. And then you would start animating objects and so on. And the idea was that if at any point you discovered you were running behind schedule, then instead of doing a fully polished and realized game, you could ship whatever you had.
And that was an interesting theory, but it never worked in practice. Never worked in practice, so therefore we generally do it like this.
Yeah, so we have the idea of top-down development versus bottom-up development. Top-down development is that one where you're basically planning everything out and you've got the overview of it, and then you build in the details, work your way down to the details. Bottom-up is you start with the details, and then you do more and more details in different places until you actually have a game. And that can result in chaos. That can result in a game that has no coordination or synergy. So you really want to do a mixture of the top-down and bottom-up. So we always start with a summary of the game concept and the major characters and the major beats of the game story. But when we go to implement it, you write each scene individually.
Yeah. Develops as it goes along.
You could examine this panel.
I was going to examine it.
Looks like the end panel with the Shamrock design was designed as a separate piece. It's not quite attached to the fireplace. Of course, it's the old sliding secret panel on the fireplace mantle trick. That's the oldest trick in the book. That's out of the TV series Get Smart. Mm-hmm. Maxwell Smart used to always say, that's the oldest trick in the book. There's got to be a catch to the secret panel somewhere. There's always a catch. There, feels like it just slides. Now, this is giving the player stuff that, if we wanted to make this really puzzle-oriented, we would have had, a close-up of it, and the player would have to manipulate it like a puzzle box, where you've got to figure out what the loose piece is and work on it. And that was a level of detail that we didn't want to have here.
As you can see, this was designed to be a puzzle.
And we've got all of these...
It didn't actually become a puzzle. But it was designed to be a puzzle.
So this was actually going to be in the end game. By the end game, you were going to obtain all 4 of the keys that you needed to open this. And then there's the Shamrock design in the middle. And it turns out the actual point of this has nothing to do with the keyholes. We could try opening safe. It says it's kind of hard to open a safe without the key. Maybe someone forgot to lock them last time. Nope, that's that idea. But if you examine the safe, it says... The hidden safe must take 4 keys to open it, or a set of thieves' tools. Shame I don't happen to have them. And then says, wait, that medallion in the center of the safe looks like the lucky coin that he's supposed to be finding. I can just pry it off. It'll be my ticket to the Thieves Guild. And the question is, how do you get the lucky coin? You say, take the lucky coin. That's the lucky coin. It's really stuck on there. I can't get it loose. I need to find something to pry it off with.
Yeah, because that was the problem with this whole idea of having different keys to open this lock. What if you're a thief? And at the end of the game, you're supposed to be a thief.
What's the
point of taking all those lock-picking skills if you can't simply unlock?
The answer, of course, is all the keys have to be turned at the same time. You can't pick all those locks at the same time. Never mind that.
Well, you can't turn them at the same time either.
Anyway, so the obvious thing
to do... How many hands do you have?
...is use an item to get the coin. And then at this point, we got Josh Mandel involved, and he beefed up. I wrote the prototype to this, and Josh added details to it. So I said, why don't we come up with several options of things that the player doesn't have to try to get that coin off with. So we could use a sword, except you don't have a sword. You can use a dagger, or use a crowbar. The crowbar is a reference, indirect reference to Fireside Theater. Had a bit in which they're visiting the future and doing a simulation of a pirate journey, and one guy says, it's got to take a crew mark, and the robot mishears it as, it's got to take a crowbar. So That's really obscure. We have very obscure references everywhere.
That one's obscure to me, because I didn't know that one.
So we can use a sword, a dagger, a crow pan, a hairpin, or a letter opener. Now, the letter opener is the thing we got out of the desk. If you had not opened that desk and gotten a letter opener, that would not appear on the menu. So I designed this menu system to be variable, that you could add things to them and remove them all along, and we ended up scrapping that. It was too complicated, it was too hard to do that. So what we did instead is we had a menu system where everything is conditional. So we have a conditional thing in there that use the letter opener to get the coin is conditional on having the letter opener in the coin. And that worked pretty well. So we said use a sword. I didn't bring a sword with me. I feared the thief wouldn't wear a sword because it might get caught in windowsills. And besides which, it would probably be too big for this. Use a hairpin. Oh man, I wish I had a hairpin. This figure's the one day I decided to wear my hair down. So, silliness put in there by Josh. And,
No, we wrote most of these.
I wrote some of it.
I wrote these too, Corey. But then it was direct dialogue, generally.
And use the letter opener. I wonder if I could pry it off with the letter opener. And we have acquired lucky coin and task completed. As notification type things. Yeah, I got the coin. I am so good. And again, we would have liked to have all this voice acted, but it would have cost us probably a quarter of the entire game budget to pay for the voice acting. And you could close the panel or not.
We could do a lot of things, like interact with the door.
And die. Yeah, let's do that.
No, we don't need to die. But all of you guys should do these things. If you haven't done them, play the piano, look at the bench, just interact.
So this particular scene is what they call a sandbox in game design, which is basically, it's a big place you can play around with everything in here. And we wanted to make all of Hero U kind of have that feel, but we didn't want that many red herrings and distractions. Lori searched in the sofa because people always lose coins between the cushions, and sure enough, there were some coins there.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yep. We had a question of what to do with the narrator, because in Quest for Glory 4 we had John Rhys Davis as our amazing narrator, and it was a third-person narrator, and effectively a separate voice for that. And this one we decided that the narrator is all Sean's internal dialogue, is what they would call it in novel writing.
Yeah, so this is different from our previous games. No narrator, it's all Sean, and it's in Sean's voice, whereas our previous games, there was no voice.
We had the no-name hero.
You were the hero. It was your avatar, so we didn't want to put words in your mouth.
Now, Secret of Monkey Island, which is a game we love, had everything in Guybrush Threepwood's voice, and we decided that actually works really well because you can impart more character to the main character by actually having a personality, having a voice. And that's the typed voice, but having a spoken voice would have been even cooler, but it would never be the voice that players had in their imagination.
Right. So, at any rate, we went with this style, and it is different, but I just think we've successfully captured the Quest for Glory feel in a totally different style.
And of course, we spent months developing the very first room of the 50-room game.
Yes, months, years. We got a year. Really. Yes.
Yeah, but over the course of 2 years, but.
Yeah, because we redid the room 3 times, and we kept changing the art form, and so we were just doing that one room at the time. So.
And that's what game development's like.
Yeah,
you never finish.
So then...
He gets out, he thinks he's safe. Now, we have foreshadowed this. Our view when we zoomed into the house, we saw a shadowy figure in the background. And Sean is now sees that shadowy figure, named Mysterious Figure. We had to play games with Composer to allow us to name a character with something other than the character's name.
Well, we created this. I mean, the right thing was this is a separate character. It's just a separate actor.
This character does show up later in the game, and you all know who it is, but for anyone who hasn't played the game, you won't say.
Yes.
Never mind who I am. There are 2 city guards waiting in the street in front of this house to arrest you for burglary. Is that the way you want your life to end? In jail?
Originally, we were going to show these as 3D characters in that, but, tiny little 3D characters or small little characters have no real drama.
Yeah.
So like all this isn't a real 3D world, we couldn't change the camera angle because our cameras are all fixed.
So yeah, all the Sierra-style games are about having characters walk around an environment, and you had exactly one screen per room and so on. So we wanted to have it more open-ended, and we also wanted to have close-ups. And so Lori came up with the idea of a vignette.
So we could do these scenes to have the drama, to make the...
Yeah, silent movies had vignettes to help tell the story.
Yeah, well, they told words. In our case, we showed pictures to show the drama in that.
Sean gets mad. We have his face changes, so this is his angry face.
And
there's his worried face.
And his sad face.
And his smiling face.
That's his neutral face.
Oh, that's a neutral case.
Yeah. Run off or follow the stranger. Well, yeah. Everything
running off is
the
not getting anywhere.
key to this game is that everything you do has a consequence.
So if we run off, we're going to die. So we're going to follow the stranger because we didn't save. Oh, actually, it was auto-save. We came the other way. Now, he says, did you take anything from that room? So you can confess that you stole stuff. You can admit to stealing just the letter opener and not mention the lucky coin, or you can deny stealing anything. And these set some secret tags that are used much later in the game. They are. They're used in the final scene. Gerhard, your reputation with Gerhard and your stats depend on your answers to stuff like this. They do have consequences. So it says, all I took was a silver letter opener because I needed to try open a drawer. Doesn't mention the coin in the safe because that was secret. You might not know about it. Is that so? Very well. We will return the letter opener and the matter will be settled. So you have the impression of honesty, but the mysterious stranger is suspicious enough that he's not sure you're telling the truth, but, what can you do but take it at face value? Sean says,
what else could I do? Walk away and wonder all my life who the stranger was and what he was up to? He refused to answer any of my questions, so now we have a, this kind of voiceover type of thing.
Yeah, so we could have animated this. I followed him for hours through all the alleys and dark streets of Caligari and out of the sea through a side gate I'd never seen before. I mean, we had the art for that because we used it for the movie.
No, we didn't.
Although we didn't have the art for it this time.
We didn't have the art time, no. So.
No, that whole city is 3D.
Yes, but it wasn't there. That was the last thing we did for the game.
We didn't have it at this time.
Yes.
When Lori wrote this dialogue. We could have gone back and animated it, but there was no point. Telling the story, doing a little voiceover.
Right. This is our telling of the story.
It was almost dawn. We got to a gatehouse and a 20-foot rock wall.
Sean is our narrator for what goes on. It gives us that ability to actually have
so he's the main character and the narrator.
Yeah.
Old E. McAlderson? Yep.
The skipping seems to have stopped for now. It's smooth for a while.
Hooray! Well, we could go switch to us for a second, but maybe that'll ruin it.
And now you have Turk.
Hi, everyone. We're glad skipping is over. Happy New Year. We're currently showing off some of Hero U Road to Redemption, the game that we started in 2012 and released in July of 2018 and updated several times since. But we're actually doing it a little differently. We're talking about the design decisions we made along the way and why the game looks like and plays like the way it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 You could put our face on there if you wanted to.
Sure, right. Screen capture. I could go and add a new source. And it could be a video capture device. And add source. Go. And remove ourselves. Bottom right.
Yeah. And make it smaller.
And then make it smaller.
And then we'll play the game some more. So you can see us. There we are, really.
I just want to see what the game looks like here with that in there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to interrupt with the...
Only a little bit.
Yeah.
Pop over there, which will destroy it.
Yeah.
Back to the game. Okay. So here we are in the real opening scenes. So we had the introduction and tutorial, and then we get into a thing that is basically narrative, where you're meeting Turk the Jerk. And actually, in our prototypes of the game, when we first started working in this game in like 2005, something like that, 2006, the very first thing we used Inform, and the very first thing I did.
Yeah, so originally we did this as a text adventure. Yes,
text adventure, and then we decided we could add some graphics to it. But the first thing I did was this scene here, and I had some files on the desk, and then you use some pretext to get Turk to walk out of the room, and you could examine the files, and they were all your fellow students, and you could...
no, that was how we did character selection.
Oh, yeah, it was both.
With Turk in the room, he said, which of these files is yours? You choose which file, and that became your character.
And was it not necessarily a rogue? Was it that point that you still could...
You could be anybody.
You could have been a fighter or a rogue, or a warrior or a rogue, or a...
Right, it was a text adventure, and text adventures, you can do anything.
Yeah. And so that was our character selection thing. And we later decided that it was just too complex, and Lori did not like the prototype I made, so I then shelved it for 5 years because I was brokenhearted. And eventually we came back with a new team and did
that was the first iteration. We did another iteration. We didn't like the system. We really didn't like the Inform system for creating games.
Oh, but I just didn't write the room well enough. I bet if I'd written it better, you would have been compelled.
No.
Anyway, we came back with a Windows interface that Bob Heitman, my old boss, came back and developed a little Windows thing for us. And we had talked about what we wanted to do for the dialogue and menu selections and so on.
And at the time we were creating Wizard Way, effectively. So Wizard Way actually started out as a story.
That's right.
Beforehand.
That's right. So we had we had the Wizard game first.
Right.
And we didn't like what Bob had done with too much linearity in the choices.
It was not working well for what we do.
We didn't feel it was branchy enough. Or maybe we were just lazy, who knows. Anyway, so Bob went off his direction, we went off ours, and a few years later, Andrew Golding approached us, and before that, we actually had about half a dozen fans come to us and say, have you seen what they're doing with Double Fine Adventure and Tim Schafer?
And Kickstarter.
And Kickstarter. You guys got to do a Kickstarter.
Yep, and that's why we did this. It all came down to this. And it's 3 iterations of what we...
Now, Life is a branching adventure game, and there's so many different ways we could have gone. We could have come out with this game years earlier in a completely different form, and probably would have been the Wizard game first. We could have... we were working at that time with Adventure Mob in Tel Aviv, Israel, and on a game based on the life of Bob Marley. And we could have kickstarted that game.
And they hadn't lost all the rights.
Yeah, he lost all the rights. Yeah, Sedelia didn't like what he was what they were doing on it. So that game became Bolt Riley, and I think they've actually released that. I think you can get Bolt Riley on Steam. He did do a Kickstarter on it. And that is part 1 of 3 of the game, and we had written part 2, so our part never did make it into the game.
Or never got made any, period.
But we did the intro with the smoking dope at the stage.
No, mostly
they didn't use the intro we wanted them to use.
Yeah.
But the second one that I came up with as a joke they used.
Yeah.
Anyway, Turk says, you know what you are, Connor, a slacker. I don't know why I had to be pulled from my breakfast to deal with the likes of you. You'll be out of here before the month is out. Mark my words. So he's a real sweetheart.
So, yeah.
You can answer politely. Or firmly or snarkily.
And this defines your character. So we wanted you, unlike Monkey Island, where the character of Guybrush is fixed. He doesn't change, and he doesn't have really a personality except the one the designer gave him. But we wanted
to let you define part of your personality.
Right. We wanted you to play the character and be who you wanted to be for the course of this game.
And also, unlike Monkey Island, this is a role-playing game as well as an adventure game, so we have stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so clearly Chuck had never made an adventure game before and did not realize that it's absolutely impossible to get a game out within the month. Except I think Serena they did very quickly.
So.
Don't waste my time. Let's see if you have any skill or redeemable quality. I'll take this aptitude test. Now this is a throwback to the School for Heroes website that Lori ran. You start out with a 20-question hero test, and we use that to determine whether you were a rogue or a wizard or a warrior or a paladin.
Yeah.
Or a certified public accountant. So this is based on that.
Yeah.
And it's also, and that in turn was based on Ultima 4, where they had a gypsy fortune teller who asked you a set of questions and helped define your stats.
And unfortunately, it didn't do anything with it. It felt really good. I mean, the beginning of Ultima 4 was really fantastic, and it really felt like we were going to have
setting the scene,
and
then after that, it was just a flappy arm game.
Yeah. So, oh well.
All right, walking down narrow alleyways. Brigands are approaching you from behind with malicious intent. You make a run for it and avoid them. Let them come for me and trust to luck. Take them on directly or look away for a way to avoid them. Now what you're doing here is you're setting your stats. If you make a run for it, you are working on your agility. If you trust to luck, you're building up your luck stat. If you take them on directly, your fitness stat, and looking for a way to avoid them is your smarts. So let's get our fitness up here. Sean says,
I grab a nearby rain barrel and toss it at the brigands. As they try to dodge it, I rip a rain pipe off the nearby wall, and then I swing the pipe at my assailants, knocking them to the ground. They cower and beg me for mercy.
Now, I should mention this is an actual scene of the game. This is Turk's office, and later in the game you can come in here and it will be the same scene. And you can interact with most of the things in there.
At any rate, we continue.
Yeah,
You've all played these things, so.
Yep. We're standing my ground. So Lori's picking various options here, and we see fitness increased as a notification up in the corner. Sydney came up with the idea of the notifications, and it's always a question how long to leave them up and stuff like that, so I think they flash by a little too fast. Another point, we hit them too slow, and they're hard. Looks like he has a beard coming in that one.
No, look how
scowling.
Stubbly he is.
Yeah, he is. And then Turk brings you into class, and Gerhard is smiling the whole time. The other students are looking on, not quite sure what to make of you. He's not to be trusted, says Turk. And Orvald says, I am equally certain that you have better places to be than here, Mortimer. Guten Tag. So you see that Masterphone Orvald is German, and can stand up to Turk. He's fazed by nothing. And then he says, let's review the rules.
He's a little bit rude.
A little bit rude, yes.
That's calling Mortimer by his first name, yes.
Yeah, he is, he's got some snark to him. There is no rogue class, sir. Precisely. Now, this is, there is no Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club.
We don't talk about Fight Club. But also...
ideas come from everywhere.
Yeah.
And pop culture references.
But also, this is the rationale for the disbarred bards. We had to put it in a way that the player could understand why they're,
why they're playing a rogue game. They're not a rogue.
Yeah.
There are no rogues in the school. There are only disbarred bards. What's the second rule of rogue class? As soon as he says there's no rogues. We don't talk of rogue class. And that is from Fight Club.
And this is officially the class of the disbarred bards. So once again, we're giving information to the player of what we're calling the characters and that, but we're trying to do it in an amusing fashion with references
and all developed in dialogue.
Yes. Because
dialogue is much better than just giving a text.
Right. At least you're interacting, yes. And
you get some sense of the characters here. Here we have Cairo kind of smirking and says, we will always show respect to the master.
So yes, you get to see
the personalities of each of the characters, just in brief. It is the one where it says we aren't supposed to steal from school or other classmates, no? So she has an accent, clearly. Intentional misspellings.
And we're setting the rules. You're not supposed to steal.
Yeah, which is important because we have a game about a thief trying to become a rogue, and if we allowed you to steal everything that isn't nailed down, as in most adventure games, we wouldn't be able to handle it. Your inventory, you would bow down under the weight, and you'd certainly be caught.
We don't want you to steal. We don't want to have all these objects that are useless. no useless objects in inventory. Everything has to have a purpose. And so we have to have a justification why you can't have an object that's really stupid and obscure. Why do you have it in inventory?
However, as the lecture I've given elsewhere, with Quest for Glory, Heroes Quest, and with this game, we innovated the idea of mixing computer role-playing games with adventure games. And so we do not have puzzles, as many puzzles in the traditional adventure game sense. We have problems you're trying to solve. And the biggest problem is combat, and you can go about combat dozens, hundreds of different ways. And you use whatever tools you have at your disposal to do the combats. So we try to make inventory items that can be used for many things rather than just to solve a particular puzzle.
Yes. Yeah, we're just borrowing, of course. And yes, Sean does a fair amount of borrowing in this game.
It's all for a higher purpose. And then Thomas says, we're at the school to be heroes, and we're expected to act appropriately, sir. So first of all, he's very polite, very formal. He dresses in a suit. Precisely. Keep your goal of becoming a hero in mind and always work towards accomplishing it. Now, Herr Connor, what do you think the sixth rule of rogue class might be? Now we finally let the player have some interaction. So this is a pretty long sequence for non-interaction, but it is setting up story and characters.
And it's all clicking. You had to actually at least...
And to say something snarky just for fun seems like the player is screwing around and being snarky and says, whatever you do, don't get caught. And it turns out, oop, that's the right answer to the question. You're correct.
Yes, so what we did here, unlike like Monkey Island, where you have a choice of what you actually say, and so that you know what you're doing.
Well, they give you the beginning of the sentence, and then when they fill out the sentence
but
for you.
You know what they're saying. And there's another game where Star Wars did. You had
the Old Republic, or
the Old Republic that we played.
Slaughter.
Had these, just started a line, but they didn't give you the context with the line. So sometimes you would say things you had no idea what you were saying, or that wasn't what I meant to say. So I didn't care for Slaughter's approach. This one we tried to make it so you say attitude, not what you're saying. Yeah,
attitude rather than words, and then we give you words that match the attitude. And probably not always what the player actually wanted to say, but
at least you got to feel that you had control. And it wasn't random what you got.
And they're all related to stats. If you choose the smarts answer, we decided to make it roguish. Instead of having intellect or intelligence, we have smarts. We have moxie instead of willpower.
Right.
Or wisdom. And that basically, if you choose a intelligent answer, it will raise your smart stat. This is a role-playing game. If you choose a snarky answer, it improves your moxie.
Yeah.
And moxie is actually useful because it is your willpower and your ability to keep going under duress, and so it helps your combat ability. And the third one was your charm, which we decided intelligence and charm are actually are more important to rogues than agility. Here we have a poster in the background you can't make out very well. But it has a bunch of what looks like nonsense text on it. When you come back into this room later and examine it, first of all, it's written in Fraktur blackface style, so it is hard to read. But second, it's a cipher. And it actually is decipherable using the spider code, which is a cipher that Michelle Baker developed for our School for Heroes website. So there's lots of tie-ins to our past work in Quest for Glory and School for Heroes, and pop culture things we enjoyed. I don't know if we have anything from The Matrix. We missed that one.
Here we have Joel, and as you know, most of you will know that he is a direct reference back to
Ugarte.
Ugarte, yes.
And Peter Lorre.
Yes.
So if we had an actor for this, we would go back in time and use Peter Lorre to play his role.
Yes, he would be the voice, yes.
And Joel's basically, Ugarte in the previous game, and Joel in this one is very self-serving. He's runs his own little store operation on the side,
His
unauthorized
black
by
market.
school.
His black market.
He's the black market, yeah.
Yeah, and that way it gave you access to items that not necessarily would be for sale in the school, first of all, and second of all, it gave you another opportunity to buy things when the school wasn't in operation.
Or defense things with him.
Or defense things with him.
I think.
I don't
Maybe
think.
he
Can
does
you
it
see?
with
But I don't know if he
I don't
does.
remember.
I don't actually.
Ask about trinkets.
Yes.
What do you mean when you say, "Oh, I don't sell tawdry things"?
Yes.
These are quality stuff. And that when you ask about trinkets, a quest popped up.
Yeah.
Earn some money
Yeah.
because you can't afford it. Browse the shop. Brings up a special interface for
And
his
he
items
does
for
it
sale.
in-
Click on one of them. So you can sell.
But you don't have anything to sell right
Go to
now.
buy. And click on something. Chalk. Okay, chalk costs 5 lira, which is all the money you have. You could buy a piece of chalk for 5 lira, which, by the way, is a gouging price.
Yes,
It's
well,
maybe worth 1 lira at that, if that.
and you can
oil for
find
10
it
lira.
elsewhere. Speaking of Joel Cairo, the 1931 version of the Maltese Falcon, pre-code was interesting to see the things they could get away with that were removed or more subtle in the... Wow, okay.
Oh, well, I don't think we saw that one.
No. No. And indeed, yes, there was a lot of things going on in that was coded, like Joe Cairo was coded as gay. And so all sorts of subtleties to this.
Now, in this game, we do not have gay characters or straight characters. We kind of leave it up to the player. How they act towards them really determines relationships.
Yes.
Okay, so that all goes into the journal. We wanted a journal in the game from the start, and this took quite a long time to get right, but it's complicated. So in the scripts, Lori, in addition to the things you see on the screen, has hidden parts of the script. So she sets tags and variables, and occasionally will add a journal entry. And the journal entries basically are supposed to summarize your gameplay.
This is so when you're playing the game and go away from it and play something
You come
else,
back
and
3 weeks later that you can go back and look through your journal and see what you did.
And you get it all through the voice.
And it's all from Sean's voice, yes.
Boring. So,
And worst day ever, just when I thought I had a chance to impress Steve. But in addition to that, there is a task list or quest log as part of the journal. And it shows tasks to do, earn some money. I'm supposed to buy equipment for class, but I don't have any money. Must be some of the class willing to pay for extra help. And done! Escape the old house and find the lucky coin. So those were quests that were added at the beginning of the game that we didn't mention back then.
were some of the things renamed out of an explicit desire to avoid duplicating things from Quest for Glory? I'm thinking partly of the skill ability names that you mentioned earlier, but also the detect, yes, magic, and spark and zap. Yes, to an extent, yes, exactly. We were trying to scrape off the serial numbers early when we were designing this game.
Kind of, but it's also just what we thought made sense for in the context of this game.
But in the case of these spells, exactly what we were doing is to, yes.
That's silly. The spells all came from D&D.
I know that, but
except they were not really. They were modified.
They were modified. It was for copyright reasons for a lot of the things that you see. And then after a year or two of development, eventually
we realized that nobody actually cared.
Nobody gave a care.
We could have done anything.
Nobody at Activision, who is our arch enemy that has the rights to the thing, gave a care or even knew what Quest for Glory was.
So here we have 5 tabs: character, reputation, inventory, equipment, and journal. If you were an adventure game, the only tab you would have had was inventory. And you see there's one thing in your inventory which we didn't actually mention you had an inventory, but it makes sense because you took the lucky coin in that first room. When you mouse over it says lucky coin. If you right click on it, it describes it. This large silver coin is oriented with an unusual shamrock design that looks like 3 interlinked hearts. And if you left click on it, you can interact with it. Examine it, bite the lucky coin. ... It's solid enough metal, I almost broke a tooth. Lucky I didn't. See how lucky this coin is? I think Josh wrote that.
Probably.
You can examine and get more details. We went through this as to, Lori didn't like having a right mouse button interface. She thought it should be a one-button interface, but I felt that it was a waste not to use the right button, and we eventually, after many iterations, came up with right mouse button describes what you can see of an object from across the room, and left mouse button, followed by examine, has you walk up to it and actually examine the item closely. Okay, the reputation tab, you'll notice that it's mostly blank because these are characters you haven't really met yet. So only people who you've interacted with so far are Turk, Master von Orvald, and Joel Cairo. And each of them has a reputation bar. Turk is enemy status, Master von Orvald is an acquaintance, Joel is an acquaintance. And you're trying to work up towards friend, eventually pal, best friend, lover.
Our idea of the game...
Best friend forever.
Yeah, BFF. Our idea was that there are many measurements of success for this game.
Or currencies. We talk about it as currencies.
It's currencies, and reputation is a currency.
So in the real world, you have dollars that you're trying to acquire, but people don't necessarily take and keep a job just because they get paid more. They take it partly for pay, partly for satisfaction, challenge, interest, things they like to do, sense of accomplishment. There have been experiments with, I think, rhesus monkeys, where they put in kind of a puzzle box for something, and they find that the rhesus monkeys are fascinated by having to solve a puzzle box, and it isn't about whether or not it's food in there, it's solving it as its own reward, and they like to teach it to other monkeys. So
I don't know about the teaching.
People are naturally curious, and animals are naturally curious.
Yes, as Corey said in the post he made for Kickstarter backers and things, that we as human beings like to be challenged.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole point of the game. And so we have multiple goals that you can have in this game, whether you wanted to get rich or whether you wanted to
make friends
or have a lover, or find every object in the game, or all the obscure things.
And then later on we added the achievements for Steam.
Yeah.
And one of them is to make friends with best friends with at least 3 people. It's pretty hard. One of them is to make enemies of at least 2 characters, I think. And that's pretty hard, even harder.
Yeah. So yes,
but there are 2 obvious candidates, one of which is
I'd
Turk.
love to find a way to become best friends with Turk. Yeah, that required too much game effort for us to design.
You can get to a certain degree of reputation with him by being polite every time you talk to him.
Yes.
He gives you a quest to get the school uniform. If you do that, he likes that.
Yes.
So there are ways to make Turk less angry at you.
Yes, you can get neutral with Turk. Yes, you'd have to save his life to get acquaintance.
So we looked at the inventory. Equipment is something that you see in role-playing games. You don't see in adventure games. And right now we don't have any inventory. You've just got the clothes you came in on. But this implies you can get hats, cloaks, shirts, necklaces, gloves, weapons, rings, belts, pants, and boots. And later in the game you'll be able to get a variety of items. As in most role-playing games, many of them are quasi-magical.
They affect your stats.
Yeah, and some of them are basically just your charm stat improves because you look so good in them.
Well, yes, and that was... Or
so
you look so terrible. You look terrible in it. The whole point of this is yet another layer of things you can do, is get him dressed up. You can get him in a pretty spiffy rogue outfit in the end of the game.
So the question is, where do we get our ideas? We get our ideas because we've been playing D&D and other tabletop role-playing for years, and we've played quite a few computer role-playing games.
And we picked the things we like to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I was fine with my eventual complete result of 12 best friends forever, 2 good friends, and 2 enemies.
Nice.
That's probably about as good as they get.
Yeah, you really got to work at it. So, the question is, do you want to work at reputation, or is it just too much work? If you don't care about it, who cares? You can do other stuff.
Yes.
so we can come around.
And the nice thing
everything
is,
here is interactable.
You don't have to do any of this. You can do what you want to do. This is what our game design is about, is saying the player gets to define the game. And you get to define what you want to accomplish within a given day or, activity.
Statue of someone playing a lute. If you go up to it and say, look at it. Oh, that's clearly Sister Dominique Decker, the nun who was forbidden by her order from singing publicly. So she disguised herself as a bard and traveled the world. She became the greatest contralto bard in history. Bard nun.
This was clearly a Josh Mandel.
But is kind of a reference to the Flying Nun. But there's also a real-world story about a woman who was a great singer who took holy orders and became a nun, and that her convent convinced her that she had to go out and perform, for the glory of God kind of thing, and actually became a very famous singer.
Yes, Sister
There have been several of those. So examine the lute. The only lute here is the one the bard is playing. So if you try to search it to try to find lute.
Yeah. Hello from Molly. Welcome, Molly. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Hi, Molly. Gives you what you asked for and then some. Yeah, Josh Mandel actually, now he got drafted because he'd worked with Al Lowe on a couple things, including Freddie Farkas' Frontier Pharmacist. And he got drafted by Paul Trow, I think Trow, to work on the Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded that they did the Kickstarter with Al Lowe, and brought Josh in, and Josh actually became an officer of the company. And
that was a disaster.
And the whole project was it wasn't totally a disaster. They actually got it out much faster than we did, and it pretty much. And the reason for that is because they didn't have to design a new game.
No.
They took the base design for Leisure Suit Larry 1 and then added detail to it, but they already had the design and the scenes and everything. So that's a whole lot faster than doing it from raw clay.
Well, Happy New Year. I have a migraine. Oh, well, sorry, Molly.
I'm sorry?
Wanted to stop in and wish everybody Happy New Year. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you subscribing.
Oh, and she subscribed in. Yay, thank you.
So, yes, we're going to be doing this for the game, so if you played, Road to Redemption, you probably don't need to stay here, but we're going to talk specifically about our design.
Yeah, it's all about the design.
Yeah.
So, anyway, currencies, what else? Mastery, reputation, money, time. Time is a major currency. And, of course, you have the time, but you have to decide how to spend it. So, everything costs you time.
Can't read. Oh, Asen.
Sorcerer made quite a bit of money on the song Dominique, but didn't pay her taxes. That didn't end well, I guess. Yeah, she was a famous singing nun.
I did not know that trivia. Thank you.
But as kids, we watched Sally Field and the Flying Nun.
I did not.
I did.
I didn't watch dumb.
I liked the show.
Okay, I tried not to watch dumb television series, such is why we don't. How time is very much a currency. Yes, in this game. Always had time management struggles in this game. Yeah, and that's just it. We didn't realize that we were making such an incredible challenge for our players by having time as a thing.
But it was also intentional. Our whole idea was this game is supposed to be replayable. We don't want you to do everything in one playthrough. We want you to get a feel for the game and do stuff, and then come back again and try it a different way.
But what we don't want is the player to have that feeling of, oh
my God, I have to do everything, and there's stuff I haven't done.
And I didn't manage to do that. Oh no! Yes, that anxiety. There's a limit between challenge and something that's exciting about it, and then there's this anxiety because, oh my God, I didn't do something right. And there's no wrong answer for the game.
So this game locks you down to a certain extent. Every morning you have class until noon. We don't show it, but you have breakfast before you go to class. You have to sleep at night, at least 6 hours. You have lunch, takes time. Dinner takes time.
But those lunch doesn't count. Lunch is a abstract concept. We don't make you to have lunch. You only have dinner in this thing.
That's true. Yeah, we got through the lunch break and we didn't talk about it.
Right. That's because it's implied that you have lunch during class. time.
Now, we have a mouse over the clock that gives you a digital clock, figuring that not all of our players would know how to use an analog clock.
My son doesn't know how to use an analog clock.
So right-click, this door leads to the practice room. And one of the things you're supposed to do is listen at every door. Because one of your stats is perception. You build up your perception skill by...
I'm not sure you can at this point, though.
Yeah.
You need to get the skill going.
I don't know. Go to character sheet. I don't think I brought up the character sheet.
You did.
Okay, character sheet, top. Second top. Okay, here are your stats. The ones you do not have yet are tool use and stealth.
Okay.
And you cannot build those until you get them. Yeah. Our rule is that if you have 0 in a stat, and this applies to Quest for Glory as well as this game, if you have 0 in a stat, it will not improve by practice. But
we got a magic stat somehow in my clicking, random clicking.
Yep. I think did we give everyone a magic stat?
No.
Okay.
Interesting.
Maybe we did, because we wanted everybody to be able to get magic class. Originally, you had to give a certain answer to the quiz.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm not sure. The fact it's only 5, I think that we gave it up to everyone just so that it was possible to take magic class. Anyway, your stats will gradually improve as you use them. Katie says.
We're not going to read everything, so yeah.
Anyway, but here you have a... what do they call this? It's not a pastiche. What is it when you have a set piece? You have a bunch of characters. A tableau. This is a tableau with 4 of your fellow rogue students. Joel's out in the hallway, so he's not here. And they are interacting, and you get to basically be here and listen to them interact. And after a bit, you can come in.
Yes, Brainiac says we clicked on the lady as magical and that triggered our magic.
Okay.
That's what I thought. All right.
Asks Cesare who his haberdasher is. He's not going to tell us. We're scum.
Yeah,
we're not in his class. We're not in his...
Originally, he had a plain brown jacket, and it irritated me. It looked too ordinary, and then JP went in and did this. Of course, that meant everything had to be changed. All the vignettes that he was in. It was fairly late in the game, but really I loved it.
A player complaint came in because we have a line in the game about the school uniform. The tie is yellow. And then we have Thomas, who is a complete rule follower, and he has a blue tie.
Yeah.
And we had to decide, so we ended up changing the yellow tie to a blue tie, causing multiple bugs along the way. And as it was, we missed one of the vignettes. Showed someone in a yellow tie, and basically it was impossible to get everything consistent. So no matter how hard we struggle, it's never quite perfect.
Yeah.
But we tried.
We did.
And felt a little badly that it wasn't quite right, but we also felt like we could have been spending our time on.
And the close-up there that we used there was the innovation of a programmer that we had. That was what's her face?
It was
yeah.
Carolyn.
Carolyn decided that we should do close-ups like that, and that was wonderful.
Yeah, she programmed this scene, and originally we just had a very bare-bones spec for what the scene was.
This was a much smaller room, too, at the time. Now it's monstrosity.
So that was partly JP's fault of adding all the detail.
Well,
so we love the fact
3D.
that we have going 3D. Our scenes are much bigger than the screen.
And because we went 3D, everything got bigger because we had problems with movement to keep Sean from getting caught
had to make
on
room
the 3D,
so he wouldn't get stuck on things.
And to keep that angle, like that panel there, you could go behind. You didn't want the Sean to get lost in things, so the whole logic of how a room was laid out had to change.
How big Sean is and everything else.
Yeah.
But Carolyn came through and started programming in a lot of detail for everything in here. So if you say walk the tightrope, look at the tightrope, walk the tightrope. Timing increased, agility increased. We had animation of him being awkward on that. He gets partway across and then goes plop and falls.
And in fact, we did that visually at first with the actual
showing him
3D
falling
animation.
And decided that was too much.
The problem was the rope. Your rope, his feet would go through the rope and trying to make that 3D thing work.
So we compromised by having a vignette of him having fallen on the, at least they've got some straw or something down there. Sand. They have sand down there. And if we go to our character menu,
agility is increased.
There are green arrows here. The green arrows mean that the stat has increased since you last looked at the screen. And we have another color, I think it's amber, for once it changed because of an item you're using.
Right, it had to be amber because red, green, blindness.
Well, because red means it went down.
Well, no, I mean we had to
need
avoid
the shape for the arrow to,
yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you're red
so,
colorblind.
Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of things we had to make.
We have to consider an awful lot of things. Let's put it this way.
The layout of this took multiple passes to try and figure out what would fit, and JP came up with the idea of they were using these icons for the Olympics at the time, for different sports at the Olympics. So he came up with the idea of doing Olympic-style icons for each of the stats.
Yeah, and there goes into our thing of these games are a huge synergy of a team doing these. They are not us saying everything. They are really the
and it's also that we have an international audience. Now, the fact that he fell down there, of course, was the fact that his agility score wasn't good enough. So, as later in the game, as he builds up his agility, he'll be able to walk that tightrope.
But I'm just saying that all of these niceties and things are because programmers gave us something, or JP gave us something, or our 3D artist at the time gave us something, and they all contribute to the game and create this.
And that's why you want a team made up of enthusiasts. You don't want people who are just going to, phone it in and come in literally. If they literally gave us the specs we did, we'd have pretty thin games, and then we'd have to make specs more complex. And Katie says, "Oh, Sean, you fit right into the Losers Club."
So yes, let's get our reputation.
What's a nice girl like you doing in a class like this? Just lucky, I guess. At least I'm not some nobler than thou stuck-up paladin. And Thomas says, "Paladins aren't stuck up. If anything, they tend to be very humble."
Yep.
Thomas is clearly in the wrong class. And then throughout the game, you get to find out why Thomas is not in the right class.
Yes, or find out that Thomas really belongs in this class.
Katie says, "If you want to fit in here, I think you should get cleaned up. You do look like something the cat dragged in. And you have a quest now, a task. We didn't want to call them quests, because task seems less formal. To get cleaned up. So that means you have to find the bathroom and to find the showers. Get cleaned up and earn some money."
Yep, those are our tasks. So, yes, we wanted to keep the player things to do, and so they never felt like they were running out of things. The first 2 weeks of the game, where nothing really happens in the real world, got to be too long, and the interaction of the meat coming on when the when the school thief comes on felt like
just feels like nothing's happening, you can't solve it, and so on.
Yeah. So that was a little bit stretched out.
We did multiple passes on the quirk stuff, and it isn't right.
It isn't quite right. It should have been in earlier, but I wasn't sure when I was designing it.
When we do the
let me finish my sentence.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When I was designing it, was the thought of we give the player a chance to get into the rhythm of how to play, but most players just found that they wanted something new every day. They wanted something and so my game design, as a result of the feedback and that, meant that yes, we should have brought the quirk in by the chief,
5th day or so.
By the 5th day, we should have brought it in, and I didn't realize that.
And we should have made it a solvable puzzle, because those of you who played the game, the quirk is frustrating because you cannot solve the puzzle on the first day.
No.
You were told you must solve this puzzle, it's urgent, you can't do it.
Telling a story is hard. It's very hard, and that's why you sometimes get these things where you want to do something immediately and the game can't give you that, because we're trying to juggle player interaction with storytelling.
Yeah, it's also that we didn't want the game to be over with in 20 minutes of play.
Right.
If you can shortcut through everything, you won't really get a sense of satisfaction, and you won't get the whole story. So you introduce yourself to Signore Sose, and Thomas whispers, Signore's a title.
Yep.
And he's a nobleman. Ooh, fancy that. Sean has no reverence for authority because he's never been around people of high class. You can ask, good to know him. Why are you here in the school? It seems like there's a person who associates with rogues and losers. Now, actually, that is the best question ever asked in here, but you don't, of course, get a straight answer from Sosie. But that is one of the questions players should be asking themselves is, why is Sosie, who already has advanced rogue skills before he starts out, here in a beginner rogue class?
And why is he at this school?
At all.
Yeah. So
why is he trying to become a hero? And, you know, there could be a lot of reasons for it. In fact, there are several reasons for it. But that's an ongoing plot line that's theoretically will go into future games.
Characters you
if
have
we ever
to
write
ask,
them.
all of these characters you have to ask, why are they here? And they all have answers. They all have stories that you have the chance to interact with and find out in the course of playing this game.
You even get to ask yourself the question of why is Sean here? You know, who are these mysterious people that care enough about him to sponsor him in the school? And, you know, this doesn't happen to everyone on the street. There's something special about Sean that gets him here, and it's not just because this is a game and, you know, and he's the main character. So he now has a quest to find the library. And eventually you get your quest log full of things to do, and you have a limited amount of time to do them. One of the things that game balance is a really hard thing, and we really got lucky with Quest for Glory, is that Quest for Glory is a pretty well-balanced game. The combat is pretty much doable throughout, and obviously we had playtesters working on it, but mostly it's amazing luck that it worked.
So yes, now we're going
this
back
game,
into
it turns out that if every day, every opportunity, you work out with the barbells, the dumbbells, and the barbells, and the kettlebells, and build up your fitness, that almost overrides everything else. That makes you much better at combat. So we only had 3 characters in here earlier. Now we have 7.
And we'll add them as you meet them and as you interact in the game. So once again, it is, you know, gives you an idea of what to do and how to go with this game.
So why don't we go out into the main hall, good hall. One of the big questions in games is how do doors work, how do hallways work. There's a whole article on game design that when people, okay, go click on the classroom door.
We did already, and you can't get in.
Can't get in, it's locked.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, when people ask, well, you know, why do games take so long? It's because totally trivial things that we don't think anything about, like doors, take an enormous amount of work. You have to animate the door opening and closing. You have to make sure the character is not interfering with it so it doesn't look right. You have to go through the door in a way that doesn't break the geometry. Sierra had a trick on that called hands off and hands on, and that whenever you went through into another scene, we put you in hands off mode where it will not accept any interaction from the player until you're on the other side.
Yeah.
And then we give you back your hands.
Because you could break the game.
Because you could break the game if we let you type something weird as you're leaving the room.
For instance, this scene, we were originally just going to have a blackout between stairs. You know, you went up the staircase and then blackout, and then you came up here. But the idea of having that little bit of a vignette and something to say, just so that it felt like you really had a transition. That was a
and then Lori wrote
decision.
about 10 different lines that it alternates between as Sean goes up.
So yeah, we have all
Let's go down the hall to the
paintings.
bathroom.
We have all the paintings, which are various.
What's that first door say when you look at it?
Look at the painting.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
This is one of our favorites.
Yeah, I actually have that in the garage. I have a canvas print of this one.
And this was one of the backers wanted their portrait in their game, and instead of giving their portrait, they sent us their dog and said we want a cyberpunk dog, and JP had fun with it. This room, the nameplate by the door says Aeolus. Odd sort of name. Open the door. The door seems solidly shut and locked, but I don't see a keyhole. These Doors are magic. Only the person that belongs in them can open them, mostly. And this is one of those state machine type things. The state of that door will change as the game proceeds. The ladies' bathroom, the gentleman's bathroom. Let's open the ladies' bathroom door. I'm trying, but my sense of self-preservation keeps getting in the way. Well, that and the fact the door seems sealed shut. Again, that's magical doors here. We can clean up our act. And this has a little vignette of Sean in the bathtub. And task completed and charm increased. So we give you a temporary increase to your charm when you clean up.
So you have
so if you go to character, bring up your character sheet. So you can see your charm has gone up, but I believe that it's going to go down later.
Yeah, probably it's just
I think
temporary.
it's just for that day.
It's just for the day, yeah.
And Sean's portrait in there changes according to his state. If he's damaged, injured, or poisoned, or tired, it'll look a little different. Who needs a rubber ducky when you have a rubber sea monster instead for that time? Yep. And that, of course, foreshadows the sea monster. Now, there's a sound cue here. You can hear Turk watching back and forth, and you got caught by him because you weren't in sneaking mode.
You don't sneak anyway.
We don't know how to stealth yet. Says you should be in class. You can say something polite. Good afternoon, Mr. Turk. The Spartan's class over for the day, so you're pleasantly telling the truth. The class is out already, then you're most likely expected to study your lessons rather than dilly-dallying around the school. You're a slacker. Line out of Back to the Future. Are you the guy in charge of the school? While the headmaster may have found in the school, I am the person in charge of making certain that all students follow the rules and properly respect authority. If I were in charge, there would be no disbarred Barb's class, nor would the likes of you be allowed in the school.
Character design for the talkers, for most of the talkers, was by our Australian artist.
Paul or?
Yeah, Paul.
Paul, who's last enough. Yeah. Anyway, do not ask how you can better fit in the school, because if you do, you will get a quest to dress properly, and you have to do it. So you can actually avoid work by not asking about it.
Well, I think you might get assigned it later.
Later, yeah, but it catches you enough times. Some lovely music for this courtyard.
These are 2D, of course. They even look 2D.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
They're 2.5.
Now the statuary here are mostly backer things.
No, actually they aren't.
Well, they're a mixture.
These are just
the
generic.
tanuki is a backer thing.
Yes, these are generic.
The statues by the doorway of the gardener are
the
one of our
corgi
major
is
backers.
our choice. A tribute to my son who likes corgis, so we'll put in the corgi.
Corgi, the company corgi. It's so sweet and lovable. We have to figure that since he's among rogues, he probably stole food and buried his master's gold in the backyard. If you petted the statue, you'd find he's kind of made of stone. So we have some historical famous botanists near the doorway.
Yeah.
Because that was what that one backer wanted.
Yep. Our one backer wanted these, and these are based off of real life. Look at the statue.
Yep. The plaque says, Ernest Wilson, a renowned arborist and world traveler, was an avid collector of rare plants and flowers. You can try to move the statue. It's considered bad luck to move a statue and have it fall and crush you. Also furniture. We bought a dresser from IKEA recently. It was all full of warnings about you must anchor this to the wall because of some lawsuits they've had from children being crushed by dressers, playing on a dresser and having it fall over. This kindly distinguished kindly man, these are nothingness. If you look at him, we'll get to him. That's because I'm in running mode. It's a little hard to get around the train. Like says, Augustine Henry, botanist and passionate seed collector, because of his love of nature, he helped preserve and propagate many rare plants and trees. And once again, these were based on real-world people that the backer who loves gardening and such wanted us to have in the game. We can open the library door. We can listen at the door. And it says, it's quiet. That doesn't mean people aren't in there reading. Later on, it says it's quiet. Maybe too quiet. As we're opening the door, here comes the early dinner bell. And we get the Never Go Hungry quest. But John gets to go in the library because the early bell still. Wow, I didn't know there was this many books in the whole world. This room took forever to model because it's on 2 layers. We've got all these bookshelves. Sean can move behind them and such. Various interactions with the painting. And you can go behind the bookshelves. So this originally started out as a 2D room. We made it 3D, but it was kind of 2.5D isometric.
An inspiration for Sammy. Yeah, the first design we had for Sammy was as a Sheltie kind of dog, and actually, part of the inspiration for Sammy was some of the dog art that we have in this game. That we had some very fun stuff, but after we had a great design for Sammy as a Sheltie / miniature collie kind of dog, the idea of doing it for Corgi just was too tempting, and so I had him change it up, and the Corgi just was too good to resist. So yes, partially because of that, and of course a lot of the things like hearing the dog whine, this was backer, the backer really kind of wanted to have something in the game like this and said something about it, and we tried our best to actually accommodate players, these people, and so their things become part of the game. It's really, so it isn't just an interaction of all the team, it's an interaction of our player base. That's why we loved Kickstarter. Kickstarter was incredible, because then suddenly it isn't just us working in isolation, but us working, when we have fans like you to have feedback and back and forth of what works, what you wanted to see, what you liked. And of course, initially, we were going to go with the idea of this game as a rogue game, a RPG rogue style game, but the backers are all Quest for Glory fans, so therefore we really had to create a game that was like Quest for Glory. And so we played to the fans, played to you guys as to what you wanted to see in life and see in the game. So therefore you really did call a lot of the shots of what we did to design this game. Just because you interacted with us, you gave us feedback, if only by voting to make these games. And so, yeah, you guys are you're part of the development team, which is what we didn't have in any of the previous games, because we didn't have that opportunity. Nobody looked at these games until they were finished and shipped out the door, because there was no time after all. Because it's dinner time, is that what our thing is to do? I hope I can find the dinner room in time, yes. Thought he said something about it. Well, let's see. What's the menu for today? Hispaniola cuisine. It's just, I have a list of all kinds of cuisine from around the world. Okay. What's it at the door? Awfully loud. Sounds like dinner's already started. And we better go in and open the door. Our perception increased, though. Open the door, and we get into the dining hall.
The dining hall. Yeah, all over. By the way, you can go full screen anytime you want to
Okay.
be lecturing.
Oh well. Well, I know, but they don't have to see me while they're you know, we can play the game.
People love seeing you. She's shy.
Yeah, well, no. This is like,
difficult for her.
this is,
But she used to lecture. She used to teach class, so
yeah.
teach school.
At any rate.
So we have multiple variations of this vignette with different things going on in them. This one we have Turk in the background scowling, and Cesare and Joel not looking none too happy, and Sean carrying forth like the life of the party, as other people say. What are you talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Alright, Turk says, you will be rooming with Aeolus, a bard student. The two of you should be quite compatible. You're both worthless scum who have no business being in a school for heroes. Your room is the first door in the bard dorm hallway, next to the stairs. Curfew is at 10 each night. Now this is one that throws off students who are not familiar with the tricks we play in our games. Turk tells you explicitly, curfew is at 10 each night, and if he catches you running the halls afterwards, you'll receive demerits. That doesn't mean that once you've learned how to sneak and be stealthy, that you can't sneak out after 10 at night. Although the big mistake we made was making the real deadline 1 a.m., and we would have made our programming a whole lot simpler if we'd made it midnight. And undoubtedly have a lot to learn to catch up, and we now have a task, find my room. Let's go back to our journal and see what our tasks are. To do, find my room and earn some money, because we got Never Go Hungry finished. Find the library, we did.
Get cleaned up and escape the old...
Now, of course, when we were in the library, we were supposed to have read some of the books there rather than just be there. There's another page to that. What's the find the lucky coin. So we've done quite a bit here, and this pagination and such. Sydney put this together, and it was a lot of work to get this journal to...
Yeah, everything's a lot of work.
Yep. That is the general rule on development. Nothing is easy.
It don't come easy.
So we're supposed to go up to Turk's office, or...?
Oh, no, we don't have any assignment right now. So it's evening. We could go practice. We could go exploring.
But it's really, we're supposed to find our room.
Well, we could find a room, and that'll set us off into that.
Well, that'll let us find the... Okay, we could... okay, go to the... not there.
What?
Go to the store. Store. Lori knows where things are in this game. I'm actually... I know this much of it. I've gotten as far as day 10. Listen at the door. See if I can hear anything. Nothing. Let's see if this door just gives me an earache. And you will never hear anything from that particular door, but you are building up your stealth skill. I mean your perception.
And we get Gregor.
Greetings, young master. I am Gregor. Gregor is my name. How may Gregor serve the young master? And he's a Rathi, which is a humanoid giant rat. And he's inspired by our friend Jim, who lived with us for a while and worked with us at Sierra. And Jim had a character named Gregor.
Yep, a kobold named
A kobold,
Gregor.
yes.
And actually,
and our ratties are kind of based on D&D kobolds.
We role-played kobolds, and we had our own kobold speak of how they talked. And when I tried to bring it into this, it's like, oh, that's really obscure. I can't use kobold talk for the ratty, and so therefore he had to have a different personality altogether. Yeah.
So talk to Gregor.
Talk to Gregor. We shall talk to Gregor. What shall we talk to him about?
Go ask about the store. We're not polite people.
Okay. And then you get...
What do you sell here? We sell many things. Official clothes. Bright, shiny new lockpicks for just what the good master needs. I don't have any money to buy things. What's you found?
That's it.
No money? Poor young master. Master Sean could work for Chef Kina in the dining hall. Or could go hunting in the wine cellar for drats. Let's back. Oh, okay. What's this about hunting drats? So drat is a portmanteau of dire rat. And it's like drat, dratted. But they're dire rats. And this had to do partly with an article we read in Rock, Paper, Shotgun, in which Richard Cobbett said that it wasn't a real role-playing game unless it had giant rats to fight.
Yeah, that wasn't the reason, but we did
so
say
we
that.
made sure that we had giant rats in this game. They also made sense that the wine cellar would have rats. And
Jim had a wife. He had been married before. He was divorced, and his wife went on to marry his best friend. But that's all.
But we knew him through D&D, and so he came out and roomed with us, and then worked with us at Sierra and afterwards. Because
and he wonders whether Gregor will successfully woo a lady rat. He doesn't in the course of this game, but
I think he does off camera.
No,
I think
he's
there's
wooing her, but he doesn't
okay.
actually get her in the course of this game. He's wooing her. And,
that's true, and he probably meant to type lay rat, but it doesn't become a lay rat until you actually succeed in word.
Yeah, I see. That's the success story.
What are we doing later tonight?
Roos have unbreakable contracts.
Rodents of unusual
size? They have
size?
to be there, yes. They have to be in there every game, yeah. Actually, yes. We are... the plan is for one of the games...
Which game?
One of the games in the Hero U series, the main series, which is Wizard Way, Warriors, whatever we call that one, to actually go to the underground city, to the I figure, like some other very famous towns, Sardonia, and Caligari has been built and rebuilt over time, and so there's a whole, when the city's destroyed, they just built over the ruins, so there's a whole underground
and the original
city.
design of this game, it had an entire underground city as part of the game. That would have been one of the sections, and we decided it had just gotten too massive, and we cut that out.
We had to cut out that section, but the plan is for eventually you to get to go to that, and you'll get to meet the ratty civilization that's under the town.
And the dungeon in here, in the latter part of the game, David Melanson, one of our major backers, had the ability to design a wing, and other people basically said, okay, I'd like a
minotaur and
science and stuff,
and that's it.
Yeah, and stuff like that. And Melanson said, well, I've got this dungeon module I've written, and he presented us with an entire effective D&D module that we took a section out of and put in as our dungeon.
Boy, was it a subset too.
But our idea was eventually to take all of his ideas and build them into later games.
Yes, because you're going to go down into that and find the new areas as you go along in the game.
And that is part of the answer to why there are multiple rooms out of the golem.
Multiple doors?
Room. Multiple doors, yeah. Multiple doors is because they would lead to other sections of the dungeon. Wine cellar is full of luscious, succulent rats.
Yes, Hero's Quest, drop Goblin Underground, Road to Redemption, drop the Ratty Underground, history repeats, indeed.
Oh, that wasn't the Ratty Underground.
Ratties just live there, yeah.
Okay, so here's a little trick to this. We got to open the store. The wine cellar. Let's him at the door. I can't hear anything. Maybe I need my ears cleaned. That's because our perception skill is low. I'm going to open the door, and Gregor says...
You have to have a weapon.
And then you can admit you have no weapon.
Yeah, it's one of those that...
You don't have any other choice. I don't have a weapon yet.
Because we didn't want to deal with
Don't go to danger on pretend. The wine cellar is not safe for you, so ask about danger. How dangerous can it be if it's only a few bugs and bad rats? No, don't take such things lightly. Ask about weapons. How can I get a weapon if I have no money? Didn't you get a set of weapons when you enrolled in the school? Perhaps you should look in your room to see if you can find something useful. So, these are the breadcrumbs we drop, little hints of what you're supposed to do later. Or, of course, we could buy them from him if he sold them.
If we had any money.
Stop and still score. And he doesn't sell weapons.
He doesn't actually sell them, yeah. Okay.
We could buy lockpicks for 10 lira, but we only have 5. We could buy the beginner's guide to lockpicks for 12 lira. Chalk here is 1 lira. If you remember, Joel was selling it for 5. And here's our school uniform pieces. Oil.
Cut the opposite. I will always hear stuff.
Buy oil for 5 lira.
You probably increased your perception when you started the game, yeah.
And we've been told we need to find lockpicks, so we probably should save up for them before we buy other stuff.
All right.
It's now 7:30. We originally had as you're walking along and the time would pass, and I think we either way slowed down the amount of time that passes there or took it out. So mostly now on room transitions we advance the clock.
Yeah, it was like...
It was just, there wasn't enough time to do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, our time is 7:37 p.m. Let's see, we can't stealth because we don't know how. Oh, we could go back to the dining hall. Good menu.
We did.
Espanola cuisine today. Open the door. I programmed that menu. Took a while to... You want it to be the same all day for a given day, but otherwise random. If Taya says, you be the new one. We should do that.
Yeah, well, we don't.
Welcome to the Wonders of the University. I'm Chef Kina. So, we wanted to have our one black character in the game should be more person of color, but
no,
she
was
has a bit of an
going to be
accent.
Irish. She was going to be Irish at first. But then I decided we should make this more, international, especially, and then because I made her more international, it really became international with her.
And the trick is not to make her a domestic servant because she's a chef. She really is. She's more like Gordon Ramsay. She's a food star.
Yes, and she, And
her assistant Ricky.
Yes. Ricky was a monkey at first, but then the
ringtail lemur or something.
He's a combination creature.
Yeah. And it says, my name's Sean, just Sean. Oh, Mr. Just Sean. Okay, so you can now, she gives her introduction, just by walking up. Right click says, the finest cook on 3 continents. He smells like exotic herbs and spices. That bell is occasionally too loud.
Yeah.
Talk to Ifeyo, say something polite, intelligent, or snarky.
Well, we've been polite in this game.
Yep.
And Ricky is so cute. He is. We had a monkey here. We didn't like the association of a monkey with somebody that was,
person of color.
Of Africa.
So yeah.
So we
you're always skirting the line of political correctness, and we do want to be politically correct. We don't want to
offend people,
and
even though we do.
And we don't want to live by old stereotypes. We can do better. And
so, coming up with Ricky, I hated the monkey. Mona was the name of the monkey, and every design we had for the monkey was ugly.
Sorry.
And so I was so glad the decision to change it was probably mine anyway, but to go to this cute little creature, I was so happy.
So ask about cookie class. What do you teach here? Chefs, they bring the world together. They show that no matter where people come from, we all share a love of flavors and tastes. Let's say I was hired here because the school needed someone to cook food. I teach here because teaching and cooking are just ways of sharing love. And ask about food. It's different. It's cuisines from around the world. Prepare to be surprised. Ask about the critter. Ricky, she no pet. Yep. Says Ricky.
Yep.
Very big stuff here. Ricky is my sous chef. Nice meeting you.
The physical design, well, it was the idea of having a ring-tailed cat.
It's a ringajou.
Ringajou. Kinkajou crossed with a ring-tailed cat.
Ring-tailed lemur or ring-tailed cat?
Ring-tailed cat. Lemurs are from a different part of the world.
Crossed with a
kinkajou. They're lemurs are old world, and kinkajous and things are
I'm going to greet Ricky. Hello, little critter. Ricky, she is not little critter. Ricky, she be person. She be ringajou. She be important. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. It's okay. She accept your apology. All good now. Hi. That Ricky? Should I need to stroke your fur? Nope. Keep your hands to yourself. And looking at our rep.
Oh, our charm went down. We wasted all that time. So now we have Ifeyo on here.
Ifeyo's been added. We don't have a separate character for Ricky because Ricky is obviously minor.
Yeah. But Gregor likes you a whole lot.
Yes, Gregor is already a good friend because he's just that personality. He likes people.
Yes, Ricky is a female, and you get more of the story of how, Ifeyo found Ricky, and they've been friends ever since.
Yeah, one of the things Lori's doing with the Summer Daze games, in addition to the games themselves, which are more storybook, is she has a flippy book that has a little side story that backers will get with the game. Okay, so...
What did that have to do with what we were talking about?
That there's more detail about the backstories and such
yes.
in these.
Right.
And
we will have a lot of extraneous, extra.
And the characters in the flippy book
things.
have stories similar to Ricky's, so that's what I was going to say. Okay, now, I just moused over this. Earlier it said door to Aeolus's room. Now it says door to a room, and now it says door to Sean in Aeolus's room. This door leads to your room. So this stuff really subtle, but this is where we have states changing all through the game.
And you know, we're just adding layers of complexity to a game.
Yeah, because that makes it rich. It makes it feel more real.
And it also gives you all the more opportunities for bugs.
And delays the schedule by years.
Yes, so... Usually what we're trying to say is, don't do this. You know, if you're a game designer...
No, I think that all games should be done this way.
Yes. If you're... if you're saying... Don't do this. Do not make this layer of work for yourself. And yet, I wouldn't do it any other way because I'm weird.
Except people don't remember the ordinary games. They remember the special games.
So if you want to put in all this work, be my guest.
You walk in and Aeolus greets you. So we have this combination of things where Sean has to start the interaction by clicking on someone. But when it's natural, you walk into a room. Obviously, the person in that room is going to talk to you.
Plus, it gave us the opportunity to present information to the player. We don't want the player to lose certain information. We need to make sure the player gets this information.
Whether you use it or not is up to you.
Yes, but that is the information that they have at their disposal. Because one of the things you're doing, one of the problems of game design when you have a character as complex like Sean or even Guybrush is they know things that the player doesn't know. How do you present to the player...
You mean like that he can hold his breath for 10 minutes?
Right. This information that the player, the character would automatically know. You have to let the player in to information.
Was it the Poseidon Adventure? What was the one James Cameron did that was all underwater and these huge tanks and stuff?
You mean...
not Titanic.
Not Titanic, the other one, the Abyss.
The Abyss. Yeah, The Abyss, which we had heard was a rumor he was angry at the company and wanted to make the most expensive film ever. But the...
No, that was the sequel.
The actors had to immerse themselves, swim underwater in these tanks without any breathing equipment, and trained themselves to hold their breath for minutes at a time.
In an old pool that had originally been a nuclear reactor.
Oh,
it was a nuclear reactor pool.
Yeah. And the article I read on it said that some of the actors actually managed to hold their breath for 12 minutes.
Wow.
So it is possible to do what Guybrush Threepwood did.
Well, my point, though, of information of what the player knows versus what the character knows, it's really stupid when you play a game and the character has to,
The player has to do something that the player couldn't possibly figure out.
Well, or worse,
yeah.
You have to oh, that's my son, this is not,
Yeah, because in real life, a person would never talk about that in that way.
So you break the reality. So the trick
Unless they're meeting someone new and saying, "Oh, let me introduce you to my son."
Yes, creating that opportunity
Yeah.
gives you the chance to give that information, and so that's why we would have the greetings where we supply information to you, as opposed to the interaction, which allows you to interact as you choose.
So here Sean is about to say, "I'm in the rogue class," and then he remembers and he says, "I'm in the disbarred bards class." And Aeolus says, "Oh, that's awesome! I'm a bard too." The students at the school do not know that disbarred bard is different from bard.
Yeah.
He just kind of glosses over it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Got any, you can use my tools anytime. Thanks. Got any lockpicks?
Yeah.
What? Never mind, I didn't think so.
Okay, so we can interact with our...
We need to interact with the wardrobes. We can talk to Aeolus, sure. So it's all about the characters. The school is some sort of old castle. Oh, here we get a whole pun sequence that Lori wrote. Cool, isn't it? We get to live like kings. Sounds like a royal pain to me. Take a few nights and maybe a rook to check it out, mate. Chess, wait and see. You won't be bored. After all, bards rule. That was quite a set of puns. I don't know. Being a king is never a peasant experience. Serves you right if you can't take a yoke. Resistance is futile.
All right. I did like that, Jane. Yes.
Yes. So Lori had fun writing Aeolus as the big other punster besides Johnny.
Yes, and you get a chance to have a different character that... I work really hard at making these
like
characters distinctive.
So we have...
we interact with your wardrobe.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going
okay,
for.
Fine.
Here's the old wooden desk. Wooden chair that's uncomfortable to sit as it looks. It's almost unchairable.
There's a Josh Mandel.
That's Josh Mandel. Okay, the wardrobe. Examine it. Really solid wooden wardrobe has my name in the plaque. It's clearly designed to store all the expensive treasure and gold I gather at the school. This is something that we did in Quest for Glory 3, and we always wanted to have games of basically having...
It's fun for the whole family. Yes.
For the whole family. So our original design of the wardrobe is that it was a alternate inventory space, and that you could drag items in and out of the wardrobe. Open the wardrobe. Hey, there's 2 daggers in here. What we ended up with instead was, fixed things. You have to take the daggers. One of the daggers is long and sharp, the sort you'd use in a fight. The other is narrow and lightweight. It must be a throwing knife. I'll just have to add these to my collection. I should probably equip the dagger in case I get into trouble. So you acquired them. Now I have a nice empty wardrobe of my very own. So our plans were all set aside of having a wardrobe that would act like this. So you can equip the dagger by dragging in position. This paper doll, of course, took forever to program and design and get right. But we wanted the wardrobe also to act that way. We just decided that was a lot of wasted effort to do that.
Well, no, it wasn't the wasted effort. It's what if you put a crucial item in the wardrobe? And if you put, like, the magic coin in the wardrobe, because you didn't need to carry it, and then
later in the game you need the magic coin, and you wouldn't have it with you, and we didn't want to have to program all those alternatives of whether you had it, didn't have it, had it in the wardrobe.
Where is that object? Is it on inventory? Is it in the wardrobe? Do you own it? Yes, all of those things we had to simplify, and so therefore the wardrobe is just an excuse, a place to put your sword and your initial weapons.
So at this point we could talk some more to Aeolus. We could go down to the disbarred bard quarter, do some practice, and so on.
I think having infinite inventory was a good decision.
Oh yeah, the inventory, that was another one we went back and forth on. World of Warcraft, you have a backpack that you get at the beginning of the game that has 16 slots, and you can acquire bags from various places, and then things go in the bags. And we actually had an interface similar to that initially, and that each bag was going to have a special purpose. That one of them was going to keep your reagents for your chemistry class and so on. Another one was going to have your weapons. Another was going to have your traps. And we decided the players would always be looking in the wrong one. They'd never be able to find what they need. And we just decided it was better to have a flat inventory space. We do have some context-sensitive stuff. So like if you get into combat and you use the throw command, it pops up a interface with all of the throwing items you're carrying. And you can choose from that. What did I... practice with daggers. There you go. And he's really bad at first. He keeps missing.
Yes, you will miss at first.
And then as you get higher skilled, you'll hit more often.
And we're giving you feedback to make sure you know.
And that 10:30 says it's past curfew. So if you get caught by Kirk, he's going to be mad. Fortunately, he doesn't come into this part of the school. He doesn't come into the rogue corridor or the rogue bedrooms. Yeah, JP had fun with this, with the practice targets that are more dangerous than real monsters. Let's look at our stats. Okay, so we've increased our fitness, we've increased our defense, and our throwing skill. And those all becoming useful later. It turns out that I think it was fitness and moxie determine your health, your stamina.
Adventure Sings needs to go to bed, and it's late, almost 1:30. Yeah, wish everybody a good night. Well,
Thank
we
you
wish
for coming.
you Happy New Year.
Should we quick just switch the yeah.
Happy New Year indeed, and we will probably have this in. The idea is to have this on YouTube after the words, and so you can actually see this if you missed, if you're getting too much stuttering and things like that.
Yeah. We got here. So 44 notifications. So at least I get my exercise this way. Lori wrote all those individual lines. So we were told we had to be in bed by 10, and it's already almost midnight. But what being in bed by 10 means is basically
don't
get
let
caught you. Yes, don't get caught. Rogue rule number 6.
Fortunately, Aeolus stays up late too.
He stays up till midnight. You can be up after midnight, but he doesn't. And we're getting Aeolus like that. We actually had a complaint from one of our play testers that he hated the notifications of, somebody liked that. Says you should figure that's not natural. But I personally like them. I think it gives you some feedback. It gives you a feeling for what's going on in the game and things that you don't really have the clues that you would have, the nonverbal clues in conversation tell that, yeah, they're happy with it.
Yes, you can be best friends. You can be best friends
go to your
forever
desk
with Aeolus.
and practice your lessons. No.
Oh well, clicked on
the
bed.
That was refreshing.
Huh. Oh, he didn't really shift time.
Oh.
It's one. Yeah.
It's weird. Oh, anyway, I'm not supposed to do that.
Okay.
I'm supposed to click on the desk. Let's see if you can study still. Nope, too late to study anything now except my dreams. Yawn. So, go to bed. Now, Aeolus, whether he's awake or asleep, basically, as long as you're in the room, he's going to be awake. But if you leave the room and come back after midnight, he'll be asleep. And possibly even after 10. A snoring sound effect. A rogue's motto should be Auf alles vorbereitet sein. Be prepared for anything. So we used some German dictionary, English-German dictionaries, and then I used a little of, I was an exchange student in Germany when I was 16, and our German backers to make sure that we got the grammar of the language correct. Ooh, would you use a piece of chalk? Thomas Kent says, could use to mark a path through a dungeon. Ah, it's obvious. How else can a rogue use it? Keep silverware from tarnishing? Hardly roguish. Come now. There, Cairo. You can rub it on lockpicks or a key to slide smoother into a rusty lock. Good. Rogue tools are versatile.
Yes, that's what we're teaching you.
How does one use a can of oil? To grease rusty hinge to stop squeaking? Yes, what else? My people use special oil to breathe fire from their mouths. We got into trouble over this because in Quest for Glory 4, you interact with gypsies. The townspeople are suspicious of gypsies, but you eventually work stuff out for them. And we discovered that in Europe, the term gypsy is
very derogatory.
Very derogatory and should not be used. So eventually, Lori was incensed at having changed that, but I came up with the term rover because our gypsies are shape changers that turn into canines, and so it's like the good dog Rover.
And the Gypsy Rover.
And the Gypsy Rover is a song, and roving around in caravans. And so once it all made sense.
Yeah, I'm willing to change. I just didn't like the...
It had to work.
It had to work, yes.
So.
What do you consider the quintessential tool for a rogue?
a notification of a raid that isn't on this week.
Yeah, we're trying to seriously please Master because we're...
I'd say lockpicks, because they get you in and out of a lot of trouble. It's an important skill. One does not need lockpicks to open locks. Just makes it easier. I purchased many of the tools I mentioned from the school store. So oil, lockpicks, chalk. Was there anything else?
That was about it.
And of course daggers. So we now have a quest to get some lockpicks and pick some locks. Here, so say you are a shining example for everyone here. Well, he's being a little bit sarcastic, but at the same time, Sosi is going out of his way to be the teacher's pet. QFG speedrunners try to apply the name when running QFG4 as well. Which name is that? Browser shop is what you want. Well, ask about Joel. Okay.
Yeah.
How are things going? He liked the fact that you asked.
Yeah.
For a very modest fee.
And he's introducing you to flash powder. Flash powder is a thing you can use to stop the monsters from attacking you.
Alternate tactics.
Yes. Well, our thought with combat here, originally, as we said, it was going to be a rogue game, so it was all about combat. But we wanted combat that wasn't the press the up arrow repeatedly to fight.
Which unfortunately turns out to be the optimal strategy in the original Hero's Quest.
What we also wanted was a game that was all about strategy, strategically figuring out the combat or tactics. I can never remember which ones were.
Tactics versus strategy?
Yeah. But at any rate, it was all about
strategy is your long-term planning and
tactics, so that you wouldn't be just a combat. You could get out of combat easily by putting down traps or things like that. And the whole idea was you get all these tools like traps and oils and flash powder at your command, and then each combat becomes a way of figuring out how best to deal with it in a way that didn't actually involve
and as a result,
combat.
We had one programmer who was specifically assigned to combat, and we were hoping that in the first 6 months of development that he would get started in combat and that we would do playtesting it throughout development.
Have it, thoroughly fixed.
And instead, that programmer became absolutely crucial on every aspect of the game. And
as a result,
eventually he got to combat, but it was very late in the process before he could test it.
If you want to know why this game took forever, it's because this game took forever.
Every piece of it.
Everything requires this kind of system, and we really would have liked to have the combat down first to get that playable and fun, but we didn't. So the things we wanted to do in combat got simpler and simpler as the game progresses.
Once upon a time, we made a proposal to Sony, I think it was, or one of the major console developers, and we were going to develop a game about arena combat, and it was going to be wizard combat in the arena, and you would use spells and stuff. And I was thinking of a computer-moderated game that I played up at a convention in Vancouver. I think they called it Blood Bowl, but the idea was that you filled out your turn sheet and turned it in. The computer ran the simulation against the moves the other player had done, and then dramatized the results. So we said, okay, we'll have this arena combat, and there's a campaign where you're going to gain skills through practice in combat, and then as you win money, you can use your winnings from the game to buy better equipment and so on, and then you can travel to other cities and go to other arenas on it, at which point they stopped me and said, okay, that's the third game you've mentioned so far, and, it is hard enough to do just, a Twitch combat game, and every one of those other aspects, you've made yourself an impossible task. You'll never finish this game. And
they were right.
And they were right.
So that's why we do our games.
And that's why this game that we thought would take a year or two took 5.5 years.
In fact, it was a different game when we were starting out. That makes a big difference. The fact we had a very simple idea initially for a very...
Yeah, we were going to do a roguelike.
Roguelike
with story was the original.
With 2D, with non-complex things, and it just, everything snowballs as you start to do things.
Yeah, so our original design this said roguelike with story.
Yep.
You should. Something polite. That target looks like it's begging you to hit it, Katie. It's not the only thing around here that's asking for it. And yet, stabbing you is against the rules.
Which surprises Sochi. He wasn't expecting her to, you know.
The mouthy on him. Yeah. So where'd you learn to use the cutlass? When I was little, my father used to take me out on his ship when it was in port. His men taught me how to use the cutlass and the belaying pin.
We originally had animation, 3D animation, for Katie to actually be fighting. We were going to have her join you in the sea caves, for instance, and you
actually
would
have
fight.
Combat against monsters.
Yes. And again.
And that would add yet another game to the game.
Yes, indeed. And so therefore things get taken out.
No wonder you're such a salty lass. Good to see. And we later on learn what sort of a ship's captain her father was. But I go for throat when I attack. It's a whole new meaning to the expression necking. Saying polite. I don't think you need any instructions from Soci or anyone else about your combat skills, Esme. You look like you can take care of yourself. I'm good with many weapons, yes. Get to know her, you can say goodbye. Okay. Why are you so skilled with the dagger? My people have many enemies. It is best to be ready for anything. And then throughout the game, you will get more and more detail on this after you talk to them a lot. So I was going to say head of the library.
Okay, well.
I'm almost probably done with this. So we've gone over everything in the game. We can bring up our credits. Oh, we could save it. We haven't saved the game this whole time.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, when I played the VGA remake of from anonymous game developers of Quest for Glory 2, I was really enthralled, and about an hour into the game I got into a combat out in the desert and died. And I said, I'll just restore my game. And there's a new save at the bottom. It was hard to find, isn't it? And it will default to day 2 at 220 in practice room, but you can edit it.
That's fine.
Alright, you can sit back. So I thought we should go to the library and find the book of lockpicks.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
just to show the alternative ways things happen. Yeah. So we could get money and buy lockpicks, or we can find them.
You could go to the kitchen and do the housekeeping and things like that.
And you'll probably want to do that at some point to build up money for Poobah.
Yeah, you really do mind
You need a stake for your Poobah games. Still don't know how to sneak, but the Turk won't catch us.
It's the afternoon, so all he'll do is yell at us.
Yep. I expect to see you wearing an official school uniform, so even if you didn't ask him about what he wants, if you don't want by next week, it'll be 20 demerits. Yeah, that was actually pretty hard to code, figuring out how much time had passed, but eventually I got something to work. We're not supposed to run in the library, but we don't penalize you for that. The librarian over that desk is an interesting character who is just called the Librarian, has no name. And I should not say what the inspiration is, because it might give you a clue, but he is actually a really important role in this school. He's more than just the librarian.
He isn't actually initially.
Not initially.
He was just a librarian, yeah.
But he's here for a reason, as are other people.
Mm-hmm.
That is a gross underestimate. There are 6,375 books. That's a gross underestimate of the magnitude of literature.
Or anybody else having the dreaded lag again? I see. Well, we're not doing anything to do that, so...
Come on, Jim. Say goodbye. Indeed. So he's a little hard to make friends with.
Definitely. But, you know...
So if you asked him, he would have told us where the... rogue books are.
He did. He told us the last time you were here.
Campaign talk or bark or wine? Looks like an ordinary painting of a dog, a friendly, happy sort of dog. His name is Leo. Is he back her dog?
Yes, he is.
And we made poor puppy. Sorry, Leo. I know you're a good boy. Remember, ghost dog Leo. Hello. There's nothing behind the painting. No secret doors, no hidden dog kennels, and no guests. And no slavering lords of darkness. I'm glad about that last part. When Josh put in when you it sets a tag when you do that, and later that will help change other messages. Help to books. The help to section. Study the books. With your friends, risk taking, study another book. You gotta go to the previous shelf. That's the word books.
Okay.
There we go. Tool use and discard Bard's books. Study the books. Study beginner's lock. A guide to picking locks. Well, that's straightforward enough. I think that's what we're supposed to read for class. There's something odd about the cover of this book. Here we're giving away things. We could have made the player find it, but we wanted players to get the benefit of that. We didn't want to make it a complicated puzzle, so we just got to give you the... Once you've chosen the right book, it says it can be opened up if I pull up this corner. I know there's a set of wooden lockpicks stuck in the cover. I'll just remove them for safekeeping. Time to hit the books. You will do no such thing. Some of those books are very fragile. I expect you to treat them with care. Time to gently pat the books. And we have a little vignette of Sean reading.
Smarts
Increased,
and tool use.
Both increased. So he studied a book, and he learned about lockpicking. That's enough for now.
Yes,
So this was a way of getting your lockpicks without having the money to buy them. And a number of things like that you can find. A lot of things later on as you're exploring the...
10 seconds of buffering every 10 seconds.
Ah.
Yeah, well, fun.
How lovely. We were getting that in Heroes of the Storm. Until we tried to restart the game. So we could go back to the... oh, we've got a dagger equipped. We could go back to regular.
Well, not now.
Oh, he won't let us in during the day.
Yeah.
Open the door.
This means somebody else.
Now, this is supposed to warm you up because not only does it improve your perception skill, but there are some very important clues later in the game that require you to listen at a door before you open it. Introduce yourself charmingly. She liked that, Sophia Miranda. Sophia likes to be informed with everything that goes on around here. What am I on? We are 2 hours into our recorded part of the stream.
Yeah, well. It's getting there. Yes.
4:30, yeah.
Say something sweet.
I think we'll probably run until 5:30 because we started
we'll
so
start
late,
at 5. We'll end at 5 and then
Right.
wrap it up. Yeah.
We have, we couldn't play any games because of the lag.
Because of your lag. We'll do this next time. We'll play some more games with you people. Yes.
It's a living. Besides the job, has its compensations. Talk about a sponsor. Ask Sophia about sponsors. What do you mean by asking about a sponsor? Am I supposed to have one? Who says?
You're not exactly Mr. Moneybags. And somehow I don't think you got here by your good looks and charm alone.
Could be.
So who's paying your tuition, sweetie?
Tuition? You can talk about the mysterious stranger. I was brought to this school by a bearded, one-eyed stranger I'd never seen before.
I don't know how far we are back in time, but now we're still meeting the librarian. I'm reading that.
Okay, we're about 5 minutes ahead of you.
Yeah.
Which you'll eventually discover when you hear it. I can type that in.
Yeah.
Look.
Go. Okay. There. We'll type. Which ruined my screen. Put my screen down, but...
Okay.
Made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Say goodbye.
I'll see you later. Oh, she doesn't react to that right away. But she has said, huh, never heard of anything like that. So Sophia's confused because she's never heard of such a person.
No, Nobody's heard such a person.
And you're in the courtyard. So it just made a sound effect. We didn't bother animating the door, but...
Alright, let's see, what did you want to do? It is now...
That was the main thing.
It's 4:17. Almost.
Didn't I?
Well, I meant
that
in reality.
4:17. Oh, it's very close. We're almost matched.
Polls of the future, chat people of the past greet you. Yes, we time travel regularly.
My previous self warned me, whatever you do, don't play Cyberpunk 2077. You'll regret it.
What?
That's why I've never played Cyberpunk 2077.
I see. We can practice things while we're here, but we can go over and look at that book on the table.
Got a table?
A book on the table.
Heck, a book.
Hey, book. What book is that?
It is.
Look at the book.
It's the Goram Serious Guide to Poobah. Goram comes out of Firefly.
Being a curse word, but
yeah, the
probably
subtitle
rude, actually, but
probably is, but that's okay. But it's goddamn serious. Maybe I can learn something from it. Okay, Poobah's gambling game. So, Lori and I came up with a game of Poobah, which is Poobah is like glorious leader that was made fun of in what comedy film was it?
The Grand Poobah?
The Grand Poobah. Also in the Flintstones, the Grand Poobah is the head of their lodge.
Flintstones is where I got it from here.
But we also have Fizbin, which came out of a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
And we decided to do an abstraction, because I've written online poker games. I didn't want to do anything that complicated. So we did an abstraction where we took the general ranks of the things. It just basically tell you you've got a straight, you got a flush or equivalent. We don't call them that. And then it was comparing them. And then Judy, when she was working on this, came up with the idea that of making everybody's ranks unique. If you had a regular Fizbin, nobody else at the table could have a regular Fizbin. They could have a big or a little Fizbin, but never a regular. But everybody had a unique hand every time. And as you improve or worsen your hand, there's a lot of complicated code in there to make sure that nobody gets duplicates.
It is not an easy program, even though
it is not a realistic gambling situation.
No. We want to make sure that the odds were in Sean's favor, because nobody likes to lose. And playing a game that's purely random, you lose a lot. You could lose an awful lot.
Yeah, like the proper strategy for playing poker is to fold almost every hand.
Yeah, or in any game case, when you have you go up to a door and you test it to see if you could open it. If the odds are 50-50 that you might be able to open it or you might not, if it's suddenly you can't open it, you aren't going to be encouraged to try to open that door.
Yeah, you're going to figure that door just can't be open.
And so therefore the player doesn't understand what it is. So you really have, as a game designer, to consider the consequences of things, and really most random things should be stripped out and make them seem random as best you can.
This door is locked. It appears to need a skeleton key, so I don't have one, or something like that. And that would suggest to you that later in the game you will be able to find a key and you will be able to open that door. So, Lori made up a couple bridge player names, which I was a little bit offended by since I'm an actual bridge player. But it was all in the service of the joke, so that was okay. There was a Feghoot, one of the Sir Ferdinand Feghoot Through Space and Time's jokes. The punchline was, the best led gangs of mice and men plan after clay, which is the best laid plans of mice and men gang after clay, from Robert Burns. Yeah. And so Lori did a variant on that for Sean's joke that he tells at the table that nobody gets, because they've never heard of Bridge, they've never heard of those characters, they've never heard of Robert Burns. So sorry, Sosi as you walk in is talking. So that's one of the things that, to give the idea of if you walked into a room in a party or something, people would already be talking before you got there. And that kind of gives this game a little life. One of the backer complaints was that there isn't enough going on in the hallways of the school. That you ought to be able to meet. You ought to be meeting students from other class all the time, and well, you should be in the recreation room and so on. And that was just a matter of budget and bandwidth and amount of work. Was that we don't have that.
Plus, what's the point of having extra characters that don't have really a meaning for the story? It's, there's a difference between verisimilitude and reality. In reality, we'd have so many more characters and people here at the school, but we can't, control for those and make sure that they all have a meaningful story without this game being, 3 times the size that it's already in. So we have to make, adjustments. We have to, say, okay, this isn't realistic, but we need it to work this way.
There's also a theory a psychologist came up with a long time ago called the uncanny valley. And that occurs when you have, films or media such as games that get more and more realistic to the point where you actually feel like, those are real characters moving around, and you're not thinking of them as cartoons. And it turns out that there's a certain point, once things get realistic enough that your brain makes a mental jump and says they are real, and then everything in the game that isn't real comes across as jarring. So it is actually feels more realistic to have slightly cartoony figures and to have limited interaction and so on. True verisimilitude doesn't feel like true verisimilitude. It feels off. You don't know why, but it kind of ruins the flavor of it. So we feel we get more immersion by having something that, the characters look kind of realistic, but they're not real.
Definitely. And then Brainiac says, I don't mind missing games. We're just happy to be here. Well, that's very sweet.
Aww.
We're glad you're happy to be here. We don't want this to be boring, but, that's why we like to play games with you, for instance. But this is, talking about our game is something we can always do.
And of course, if you look at, famous scientists and great thinkers of the past, an awful lot of them did their important work during a 5 or 10 year period when they were, say, in their 20s, and then after that they were basically in retirement phase. In that sense, we did all of our important work in our 30s when we developed Quest for Glory and Shannara and Dr. Brain and mixed up fairy tales, and at that point they put us out to pasture, and might have been right, but we got dragged kicking and screaming back in from retirement to do this, mostly because we were broke at the time. And we really like doing this. We really like making games and sharing our visions with everyone.
It's 4:53, and you just left the reception. That's a good point. All right, put down what time it is here.
Okay, it is 4:47 here.
Yes. Hello, 2022 people. Hello, Valiant Cheese. And now you can say to Valiant Cheese, Happy New Year, Valiant, because he won't hear this either. Serious lag. So yeah, we'll type to the past, to past people that are out there in TV land and computer land. You're all, 10 minutes behind?
No, it was only 6.
50.
Wait, 450?
53. So
350. Wait a second. How did he
He's
get ahead
in a
of us?
different time lane.
No, he said it was.
Pacific Standard Time.
Pacific Standard.
Oh my God, he's in the future. We're talking to the future now. Yeah. Well, that is very funny. Very funny.
So we can smile.
Yeah. Oh well. All things are weird. Okay, talk to Joel. Ask about Joel. I want to be friends with people.
Will I ever live in this castle? I don't think so. Thieves who entered here talked of an unspeakable evil.
Possible there's something of great value.
You mean to say you didn't come here just to be...
To learn.
Joel says, I'll let someone else play the hero's part and let him waste his life saving fools from their follies. As for myself, I'd rather teach fools not to be so foolish as to tempt thieves and swindlers with their wealth. In other words, he teaches them by stealing from them.
Mm-hmm.
That's about games. You play various games, certain card games. You play solitaire, cribbage. I'll peg you. I don't peg you as a cribbage player. You'd get bored. Of course, the best card game of all is Poobah! I'll let you know there's somebody play Poobah. We would love to play with you. He doesn't mention the fact that it's for money and that he likes taking people's money.
Alright, who do you want? Who do you want to play? Who do you want? What game do you want to play? Challenge 2. Oh, wait, here. Let's go as long as we don't... I already talked to everybody, so...
Challenge Katie to a game.
Well, I just meant
cards. Back. You do what you want.
Well, I was just going to show off, but we can play a game. But all right,
You
this
can
is
also throw
another.
cards.
This is another one.
Backer portrait.
Yeah, backer portrait that I have a.
Ivan the Terrier.
Yes,
Yvonne
I have
the
canvas print for this is somewhere. Probably this is also the one in the garage.
Yeah, we tried to save as much as we could of memorability.
Yes, we had some canvas prints because we were testing out prints and printing methods. Yes.
And they said someday our prince will come.
Yeah, this is a character that made up for the game. I mean, it was just a dog portrait, and we then called Ivan the Terrier, and so I really wanted to put him into the game as a character that we don't meet in this game, but in future games. I haven't so far. I already feel like the game is on the threshold of having too much going on to keep track of. Constantly interacting with students in the hallways would dilute everything that's going on. I think I agree. Yes, and it's irrelevant. You know, it's too much stuff that doesn't really contribute to the game. All books and things are just pared down versions of reality. Yeah. Let's see. The Coles Showcase Turk's Laugh. How difficult would it to be to add to match it? Ooh, if you clicked on it and we played that laugh when you brought up Turk in the game, that would be hilarious. So, yeah.
Valiant says, I feel like the game is on the threshold of having too much going on.
I know, I read that.
That wouldn't be too much, Valiant.
Huh? No.
The previous one he was talking about.
Yeah.
That was something else he was talking about.
Yes, he was. He was talking about when we were talking about having extraneous people in the hallways.
That was 20 minutes ago.
Yes, it is, Corey.
There we go.
Time travel, yes.
Yep. Anyway, we agree. But yes, match it would be easy to happen. We can provide you a laugh for that.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about that at some point when we're not in dual times. Molly Metroid would really want to get caught by Turk if that happens. Yes, you are falling asleep. I can see that.
I am.
So I guess we are not going till 5:30.
You can go, but I need to step out just for a minute.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So yes, we'll definitely. That would be hilarious if we add Turk's laugh into the game, and that's a good idea. All right. Let's see who plays what. Let's challenge Katie to a game. Let's challenge her to a game of darts. She's the best dart player around. Told you I was good at this game, and that increased our gaming skill. You win. I admit it. You are really good at this game. Well, that also is making Katie like you. What time is it? We got time for another game? All right, Esme. Challenge Esme to a game. Let's choose. All right, we could try her. And she will play you darts. All of them will play you darts. Some of them are better than you. But she should be better because she starts out with very good agility. Yes. Yeah. It's 9 p.m. We have time for one more game. It is 5 p.m. Okay. It is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4:50. Okay. Weird. Alright. And right now it is 4:55 p.m. Pacific Standard, of course.
Hello. I looked at that phone to see what time it is, and that phone's not accurate. Pick up my cell phone.
Oh, it's a cell phone. Oh, we're looking at a phone.
That phone says 4:55, but the cell phone says...
Cell phone!
Says what?
Yeah,
5:01.
It says 5:01.
So it is actually 6 minutes later than we said it was, and that's why. So the time matched up.
Now, what is it? 5:01. It is really 5:01.
And you can eventually see that picture of a cell phone and can figure out what time it comes out.
Had a late clock.
The reason I am yawning and drifting off is because I had allergy symptoms earlier. I took a Benadryl and they take me right out.
Okay, well, but that says it's 5 o'clock. That says we've come to the end of our hour.
Except we lost half hour of it.
We lost half hour, but we did. I think we should bring this up next time. Actually save our game and
Talk some more?
yes. We had a late clock here. You caught up. Yes, we're mostly caught up.
Okay, why don't we say day 2 at 9:08 p.m. end of stream. You can get rid of it only is a limit to the size. End of EO stream, and then put the date 1/1.
1/1.
That doesn't work. 1/1. Come on. /2022. There we go. We have this saved for posterity.
I like to pretend they're playing Dag Nabbit. They could be playing Dag Nabbit.
It's very close.
Yeah, it is very close.
Actually, the real one close to Dag Nabbit is the practice of the throwing daggers in the road practice room.
Ah.
Because we are throwing daggers, so it's a lot like Dag Nabbit.
No, we just threw the dagger in there.
Yeah, but we...
No, we didn't.
There's no competition.
There's no competition. We didn't actually adjust it. We did talk about it, and in fact, we doing it.
Oh, I discovered a bug in this. If anyone wants to exploit it, if you leave yourself on the one of the interaction screens, the save game or whatever, and then you go and quit the game, and then say new game. After it gets to the break point at the of the opening movie, where it says, "Okay, it's time," it'll bring up that window that's left over for the previous game, and if you dismiss it, you're now in control of your character instead of hands off, and so you can't actually run the game at all.
Yeah, so we can show you how to.
But as practice starts, I'm never so busy I can't take a few minutes for a little practice. Yeah. And then we just have a generic stay on target. Stay on target. That's out of Star Wars.
Yeah, but we're not.
I think I'm getting a little better.
We are not actually playing now.
Yeah, I know, because I'm not going to save it again.
So that was a waste.
At our character sheet.
Any rate.
I was just showing off the dartboard.
Hey, everybody.
Our gaming.
Happy New Year. We hope you had a fun time here, even if it was crazy and it was time lagged and we didn't get to play with you or really have serious discussions.
And we hope that everyone has a wonderful New Year, and we do plan to get you a Tilly's Tale real soon now.
And we'll have another chat in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. The next one is January 15th.
Wait, how do you get to count any of your apps anymore? Jeez, that's stupid.
Any of my apps?
Yeah.
Well, it's under here.
Oh, I see.
So you click anywhere and you can see it.
I see. Yeah. All right.
So it is January 1st. The next one, of course, will be January 15th,
And
Saturday.
we'll have 3 this month. 3 live streams.
Wow. Yeah. 1st, 15th, and 29th. And are we going back to 2 p.m. or are we going to be at 1 p.m.?
We'll be back to 2.
We'll be back to our 2 to 4
Yes.
schedule after
So
this.
that gives us more time to prepare for this when we get to start thing, because it is so...
And then we'll see if we need to add extra time and extend these so we can get more done.
Well,
But thank you all for coming along, Young.
we hope you have a good start to the new year, and that this year is better for you than the last time. So, yes.
Okay, so it was only a few minutes lag.
It was
wasn't like 50.
Yeah. Happy New Year. See you next time.
All right.
Ta-ta.
Bye, everyone.